Sup guys, future Fat Archon here, making a quick intro edit, so I am adding this at a later date. Super quick announcement, I promise I'll try to make it quick, I don't want to waste your time. As I'm recording this, I just hit 600 subscribers. I know that's not huge in the scheme of things, but for me, oh my gosh, that is amazing. That has exceeded all my wildest expectations. So I'm adding this here, like, really to say, like, thank you guys. Every single one of you have been awesome. Even if you're new here, like, thanks for giving me a chance. I appreciate it. For real though, if you're into 40k, if you're into the competitive scene, or like are thinking about getting into the competitive scene, or even just like want to learn 40k, I've been putting out a lot of reviews, tier lists. Lately I've been doing more tactica, so like how-tos and guides, that sort of stuff. So legit, like, check out some of my other videos. If you like what you see, do consider liking and subscribing. I would appreciate it. But again, thank you guys. Thank you guys very much for being here with me. Couldn't do it without you. Sup guys, Fat Archon here, bringing you yet another army review video. Today we're going over Chaos Demons. Yeah, it's freaking demons, they're freaking awesome. I'm actually kind of excited to do this video. I will admit, there are quite a number of profiles. There's like over 60. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. I might cut the video in half, I might just do it like per god or whatever, so we'll see how it goes, but this will be a fun one. Also, too, so as smart as I am, I haven't memorized every single data sheet, so there's a good chance I'll be checking the points a lot, so just bear with me. Either way, freaking love demons. I think they will do pretty good this edition. Like, demons have always been a pretty strong army. Like, they have a high skill ceiling, in my opinion. A lot of people can play them very cleverly and can totally win tournaments. In fact, to my knowledge, they're like already winning tournaments fairly often for 10th edition. So, yeah, I think demons will do pretty good, as they usually do. But yeah, let's jump into it. So for demon rules, they got a really fun one. They got Shadows of Chaos. So essentially, the board gets split into like 3 different sections. So your deployment, no man's land, enemy deployment. You always get, your deployment is always considered under the Shadow of Chaos. The no man's land, if you control more than half the objectives, is covered in the Shadow, and then your opponent's territory, same thing. If you control half or more of the objectives, it becomes part of your Shadow of Chaos. What you get for this, you get a few things. So, first of all, you add +1 to your own Battle Shock test, which is pretty good. And then if you pass that test, then you regain D3 wounds. If it's a battle line unit, you regain D3 models. It's actually fantastic. Demons have always like needed ways to regen. Like in 9th edition, that was pretty powerful when you'd use the whatever the ability was called when you rolled the dice and got it. So definitely good to have. Also, too, enemies that are in your Shadow Chaos, they take -1 to their test, and if they fail, they take D3 mortal wounds. So that's awesome. Hey, Battle Shock is, you know, somewhat useful now, you know. So pretty handy ability. The other part to this is that you can deep strike within 6 inches of an enemy unit, so long as you're wholly within the Shadow of Chaos when you start your charge. That's incredibly powerful. Demons are a melee mainly army, so anything that boosts that up, we love to have it. There's a million other rules that are going to key off that as well, and there's also ways to put it into places on the board. Like, there's certain models that have their own little aura, so that's clever. If you get like an infiltrate version, suddenly you're able to deep strike within 6 inches of an enemy using that model as like your base or whatever. So pretty handy. Demons can also be allied into other armies. Most people play 2K, so in that case you can get up to 500 points of demons. That's pretty awesome, man. If your army is hitting, I don't know, chaff or something, suddenly you have the ability to bring them in with your army, so definitely good to have. Their detachment ability is just what I said. So this is the one that lets them deep strike within 6 inches of the enemy. So very powerful ability. Potentially it'll change when the Codex comes out. Like, you'll have other detachment abilities to choose from. So I'll be curious to see how that goes. But either way, pretty good to have. Stratagems. So GW did really good on the stratagems for demons. Like, almost all these are pretty handy to have. So yeah, let's jump into it. The first one, Corrupt Real Space. So the start of any command phase, 1 unit from your army that's within range of an objective marker. That objective marker is said to be corrupted, and it remains under your control even if you move away. Also, too, the area within 6 inches of that is now considered Shadow of Chaos. That's actually really powerful. You might even use it without necessarily moving away from it or like planning to move away from it, just because it gives you that Shadow of Chaos. That said, I mean, you probably won't most of the time, but it's there if you need it. Sticky objectives, too, so if you got some crap unit sitting on your rear objective and happen to get taken out by indirect or something, I would pretty much always spend this. In a sense, that's like gaining 5 victory points, and like I said in the World Leaders video, like, I would pay CP every single time if it bought me victory points, so definitely try to remember that one. Next one, incredibly powerful, potentially one of the most powerful ones, Warp Surge. In your charge phase, so one Legion Demonica unit from your army that is within your Shadow of Chaos can advance and charge. Obviously, melee army like this, you want to be able to advance and charge like that. Gonna use that all the time. Definitely remember you got that one. Next one, they got Drought of Terror. So in your shooting or your fight phase, you choose one of your units that hasn't shot or fought yet. Until the end of the phase, you improve their armor penetration by 1. Also, too, in addition, until the end of phase, each time such a weapon targets a weapon that, unit that is battle shocked, you can re-roll the wound roll. With your ability, like, you'll be battle shocking units more often than other armies, so you might actually get that. Even without the second part, just improving the armor pen by 1, like, fantastic, man. You want to use that a lot, especially versus tougher units, you know, Terminators or stuff like that. You can just about double or do a boatload more damage than you would normally, so definitely try to remember that one. Next one, Denizens of the Warp. So use this in your movement phase, and you choose one of your units that just deep struck, and long story short, you can deep strike within 3 inches of an enemy unit. Now, you can't charge afterwards, but there are a lot of little tricks you can do with that. A really good one that I was thinking of is even a crap unit like Plague Bearers or something, they got pretty good objective control. If your opponent doesn't position his unit right and he leaves a little sliver within 3 inches of an objective marker for you, technically, potentially, you could deep strike down within 3 of them, still within range of that objective marker, and steal it from right under his nose. So that's actually a pretty clever thing to keep in mind. Also, too, you got the obvious stuff like flamers or whatever. You can get them within range of a juicy target by having the 3-inch deep strike. And then, of course, you got the secondaries. That's where it's going to be humongous. It's going to be really hard to screen you out for scoring, like behind enemy lines or whatever. 100%. Remember, you got Denizens of the Warp, for sure. The next one, they got Realm of Chaos. So at the end of your opponent's turn, you can choose up to 2 of your units if they're in the Shadow of Chaos, or just one of them otherwise, and essentially you get to remove them, and then on your next reinforcement steps, you get to deep strike them. Again, this could play heavily into the secondaries, so obviously pretty useful to have there. Oh yeah, there is a restriction. You can't do it on enemy or units within engagement range, but whatever. Not something you'll always use, but having that, like, near the end of the game when the game's on the line or whatever, definitely good to have. And the final one, Demonic Invulnerability. So in your opponent's shooting phase, just after they chose a target, you choose one of your units that they targeted. Until the end of the phase, each time you make an invul throw, you can reroll a 1. So usually that's actually not that fantastic. Like, yeah, it's helpful, especially if you think it'll help a unit survive. But there's certain units, like the Demon Prince, spoiler alert, he can get a 3-up invul. You combine it with this thing, like, hot damn, man. Good luck taking out that Demon Prince. So I would be wary of using that. Like, don't just automatically use that when you're shot at. But if it's going to be clutch, or if it's on a unit like that, you know, good to have. For enhancements, so these are all right, and some of them are actually pretty good. The first one for Khorne, Argath, King of Blades. Basically, you can add +1 to the attacks and strength, and if you're within your shadow, you add +2 to either of them. Like, sure, yeah, you get more attacks and more damage, like, that's fine, but I don't really think it's worth the points for it, so I'd skip that. Honestly, I'd probably always skip it. The Everstave, so the Tzeentch model, you add 1 to the strengths, and then you increase the range by 3 inches, and then if you're within Shadow of the Warp, it's add 2 to the strength and up to 6 inches on the range. So this one's actually kind of clever. The Lord of Change, he already gives himself a +1 strength on his profiles, just like his ability, which puts him up to strength 10. You toss this on here, strength 11, so suddenly he's wounding vehicles on 3s. He's pretty good shooting, by the way, so that's pretty good. If you manage to be within the shadow, of course, you're going to go up to strength 12, so suddenly you're taking on knights and stuff with a pretty cheap and efficient Lord of Change. I like that one a lot. I'm not sure if you always take it, but I enjoy it. Let's see how many points it is, by the way. 25 points. That's not terrible. To be wounded on knights, or to be wounding knights, like, that might be worth the 25. The Endless Gift, I actually really like this one. So, Nurgle only, the bearer gets a 5-up, Feel No Pain, and if you're in the Shadow Warp, you get a 4-up, Feel No Pain. 4-up essentially doubles your wound count, so on something like a Great Unclean one, we're talking like in the 40 wound equivalent area, which is insane. That's pretty insane. I don't think there's any other models that do that. If you're bringing a Nurgle, especially if you're bringing a Great Unclean one, I think you always bring this one, pretty much every single time. And then the final one is Slaanesh, Soul Stealer. So anytime you destroy a model, you roll a dice. On a 4-up, you regain 1 wound. That's pretty good, pretty alright. If you get into melee with, like, a weaker unit, like, yeah, you'll pick them up. You'll probably kill, like, 5 of them. But even then, that's only, like, 2 to 3 wounds you regen. It is useful, especially because you got the 5-up Feel No Pain and your T10, so you're kind of a pain in the butt to take care of. But it's not as strong as you might like. If it was on, like, a 3-up or something, then, yeah, I'd probably take it. So, all in all, pretty good abilities there. The army rules are fantastic. Stratagems are fantastic. And then the enhancements are just pretty good. All in all, I like it a fair bit. Demons are looking pretty fun to play. For data sheet, so, alright, we'll start off with the big man himself, Mr. Belcour. This guy's 325 points, has a pretty good stat line, so 12-inch move with fly, whatever with the fly, but either way, T10, excellent, 4-up save, and then a 4-up invul, and 18 wounds, that's a lot. He also gets built in, he gets deep strike and stealth, so he'll always be -1 to hit when you're shooting or fighting him. Pretty powerful. For his weapons, he's got some pretty decent ones too. Range isn't the best, but whatever. So on his focused version, you're going to get devastating wounds, hazardous, whatever, ignores cover. It's 18-inch range, gets 12 attacks, hit on 2, strength 6, -3 AP, so that's pretty good. Only 1 damage. Great for killing infantry, so you still use that fairly often. For melee, he's a pimp, 6 attacks, hit on 2, strength 14, excellent, AP 4, excellent, D6 plus 1 attacks. It's also lethal hits, so this guy can go up against knights, vehicles, whatever you want, and do, do some pretty good damage there. For abilities, so his first one, the Dark Master. So the area within 6 inches of him is counted as within your Shadow of Chaos. So if you're able to fit a unit within there, so a lot of units you'll be able to get your 6-inch charge from that. It's pretty valuable to have. Definitely like having that. Also, too, don't forget the -1 and the +1 leaderships and all that stuff. His second ability is where he really slaps. So Shadow Form, basically at the start of each battle round, you choose from 1 of 3 abilities. His first one, so while a friendly demon is within 6 inches of this, they can only be targeted by range attacks if they're within 18 inches. That is incredible, especially for demons. Like I mentioned in the beginning, demons are mainly a melee army, so being able to prevent being shot at for hopefully most of your army on the first turn, super strong. Potentially that even lasts into the second turn, depending like how you and the opponent are positioned, but mainly it's going to be the first turn thing. Also, too, like if your opponent wants to shoot you, you're forcing them to get closer to you. That's just what we want. Like, come on up, man. Let's play. You're probably going to use that one first turn, like almost every single time. Depends how you deploy and how the board looks. His second ability, Pall of Despair. So in the Battle Shock step of your opponent's command phase, if any enemy unit is below starting strength within 6 inches of this guy, they must take a Battle Shock test. That one's alright. As usual, there's a million ways, like, skip that or, like, ignore it. So I don't think it's that valuable. Plus, it's pretty short range, so, like, while, yes, you want Belcour within 6 inches, I think you got better stuff you could use than that. Final one, Shadow Lord. Well, a friendly demon is within 6 inches. You can re-roll your Battle Shock and leadership tests taken for the unit. Whatever, that will be handy. It also, too, remember that you're going to regen those D3 wounds if you pass it. So, like, that is handy, especially later in the game when, like, none of your army is going to be 18 inches away from them. You may as well freaking use that. Basically, get some nice regen going. This guy, he's a pimp. The 18-inch bubble thing alone pretty much puts him in S tier. He's not that expensive. He's got a great profile. I really like Belcour. I think you almost consider bringing him like every single list. Yeah, you're definitely going to be seeing that guy a lot. Next up, we got Soul Grinder. So, much like the Defiler, I freaking love this guy's model. So, S tier. Now, he does have a pretty good stat line. So, 8-inch move. He's got the Scuttling Walker, by the way. So, just like Defilers, he's ignoring friendly monsters and vehicles and terrain that's 4 inches or less. Very handy. This guy's like a little crab or whatever, so it's kind of a pain to walk around. But 8-inch move, T11, that's fantastic. 3-up save with the 4-up invul, again, fantastic. 14 wounds, like this guy's, this guy slaps for sure. He's got a pretty good profile right there. He is a bit on the spinny side, 215 points, but honestly, I kind of argued he's better than a Defiler. For his weapon, so you got a bunch of options. Depending how you mark this guy, you get a different weapon. That said, so the main one he always gets, regardless of which god, is Harvester Cannon. It's 36-inch range, only 3 shots, but hits on 3s. Strength 10, that's great. Only 1 AP, but 3 damage, so that's pretty clever. If you go Khorne, you get a auto-hitting Flamer, 2d6 shots. Strength 5, -1, 1 damage, so not the most, but helps clear infantry. Nurgle has a pretty interesting one. It's Blast, Indirect Fire, so basically artillery, and lethal hits, so you're getting a bunch of little bonuses on that. 36-inch range, d6 +1 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 7, -1, but 2 damage each. Potentially that, Nurgle or Tzeentch are probably the ones I'd pick between if I was bringing this guy. For Slaanesh, he's got Scream of Despair, so devastating wounds and sustained hits 1, 24-inch range, 6 attacks, so pretty good. Hitting on 3s, strength 9, -2, 2 damage. That's actually pretty good. I might consider Slaanesh. I was making sure he doesn't gain movement or whatever too. And then finally for Tzeentch, so it's Blast. 48-inch range, so really good range. Only D3 attacks, but hitting on 3s, strength 12, -2, D6 +2 damage. This guy gives you your anti-tank across the field, which is very valuable. You don't have much access to that otherwise. You are able to soup in Chaos Knights, which you very well may do most of the time, but being able to have some native support like that, I like it a lot. I probably would run this guy Tzeentch most of the time. Again, otherwise Nurgle, because indirect is pretty invaluable. Even up close, this dude freaking wrecks. So he's got the Iron Claw, and then you can choose between the Warp Claw or the Warp Sword. Personally, I'd go Warp Sword most of the time, because again, it gives you that high damage, which we love to see. Iron Claw is 5 attacks, hit on 3s, strength 16, so wowee, -3 AP, D6 +2 damage, so he's going to be wrecking knights and vehicles and all that stuff. Warp Sword is extra attacks, so you get 3 extra attacks on top. Hit on 3s, only strength 8, -2 damage, but D6, or -2 AP, but D6 damage, which is pretty damn good. He can also deep strike. I'm pretty positive every single demon can deep strike, so I'll try not to mention that too much. But even at 215 points with a T11 and 14 wounds, this guy makes a Defiler look pretty lame. I'm gonna rate him pretty high. I like him a lot. The idea that you can bring good shooting in a demons list, that's pretty valuable. I'm not sure you bring them all the time because they are, again, pretty expensive, but I'm gonna put him in A+. It helps I really like his model. Demon Prince of Chaos. So often I don't rate Demon Princes that high up for most of the Chaos factions. For demons, he's actually pretty good. So basic demon stat line, so 8-inch move, T10, great. 2-up save, 4-up invul, fantastic. I think he's one of the only models with a 2-up save in demons, so that's, handy. 10 wounds. He's got the Infernal Cannon, which again is basically just a 3-shot heavy bolter. If you do make him Tzeentch, you get 6 shots, so that's good. You can plink people across the table. For melee weapons, again, basic demon stat lines, or demon prince stat line, 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 8, -2, 3 damage each. You can buff that if you go Khorne up to strength 10. If you go Slaanesh, Slaanesh gives +2 movement, which is valuable. Nurgle would put him T11, so you got a bunch of ways to play with this guy. I would... all of those are valid. All 4 of those are valid. I like the T11 because then strength 10 weapons don't really scare you as much. I like Slaanesh because then that helps you get into melee easier. Khorne good too because now you can threaten vehicles. All of them are pretty decent. Tzeentch is probably the of all of them, but being able to hit stuff from range is pretty reliable versus melee. For his abilities, so his first one, all friendly demons within 6 inches of him get stealth, so including himself. -1 to hit on an army that hates to be shot. Super valuable. That is a very, very good buff, and I would definitely play around that. Make sure you got friends taking advantage of that. His second ability is very interesting. Unholy Vigor. Once per battle, at the start of any phase, you can use this ability. If you do, until the end of the phase, you get a 3-up invul. So like I mentioned earlier, if you were to key this with that, or combo this with the reroll 1s for invul saves stratagem, that makes this guy Probably the most resilient model in the game, because I don't know what the math is, but I know it's going to be ridiculous. Most of the shots are just going to bounce off of you. So this dude can actually get across the table fairly decently, especially if you're willing to spend the CP. It is once per game, and it is only a single phase, so do bear that in mind, but pretty decent. He's kind of expensive. I believe he's 215. Let's check. Yeah, 215, so definitely spendy, but compared to most Demon Princes, I actually like him a lot. I like him a fair bit. I'm not sure he goes A+ or whatever, although that aura is freaking valuable. But I'm going to put him straight A tier. I think he's solid A. Definitely something you look at, especially if you need more heavy hitters. And then the final Undivided option, got the Demon Prince with wings. So this guy moves 12 inches. He has the exact same, like, god buffs as the others, so you can get him up to 14 inches movement if you go with Slaanesh. Only T9, 2 up, 4 up, so same stat line. For his abilities, Malefic Destruction. So once per battle, at the start of the phase, you can add 3 to his attacks characteristic. That's pretty decent. Getting 9 3 damage attacks, like, that's a pretty good rate. And then his second ability, Harbinger of Death. Each time you selected to fight, you get to choose from one of the 3. You can give him lethal hits, precision, or sustained hits 1. Pretty much all of those are pretty valuable. I would think precision or sustained hits are the best. Most likely, I'd like precision the most. If I go into a unit that has a character leading it, yeah, I'd probably choose precision the most time. Otherwise, go with sustained hits. Get some extra damage 3 attacks going out. Something with precision, by the way, make sure you're slow rolling it. I made the mistake once of being like, okay, everything's going in that character. I killed him within like the first 2 like dice, and then the rest, because I said that, they just sort of rolled over. Sure, I probably could have asked, like, actually, what but make sure you slow roll it. Just go one at a time until you kill the character. I like this guy. He's pretty alright. 195 points, so he's cheaper than the other, but his doesn't really like buff your army at all. He's just there to like kill stuff. And truthfully, with demons, you got enough of that. I'm gonna put him just I think I'll just put him B tier because he does have the movement. I would be tempted to go Slaanesh with him so you get the 14-inch move, get him across the table. But either way, yeah, I think it's just a B. Alright, so we're on to Tzeentch. So, start off with, we got Mr. Kairos Fateweaver. I believe he is 285. Yep, 285. This dude's pretty interesting. He brings some pretty interesting abilities to the table. First one is, one head looks forward. So each time you target a friendly Tzeentch demon within 6 inches of them, you roll a die. If the result is higher than the battle round, then you regain a CP. So that's actually pretty valuable. We don't have much of regen in demons, so being able to use that, basically refunds a bunch of your stratagems. It does only work on Tzeentch units, though, so do be aware of that. Second ability, one head looks back. Once per battle, when an opponent uses a stratagem, you make it cost 1 more for the rest of the game. Obviously, very powerful. You're going to see a whole bunch of armies meme the free stratagem ability. Also, too, I believe it was in the errata, the rules commentary, or whatever, but if you use this, it still makes stratagems cost 1 CP, even if they use the make it free ability. Like, maybe go double check that for yourself, but I'm like near positive that's how it works. So that actually adds some value to it. He's kind of cheap too. I mean, 285 for the profile, like that's not bad. Speaking of which, so 12-inch move, T10, 6-up save, but a 4-up invul, 20 wounds. That's very good. Like every demon, he's still got the deep strike. For weapons, he's got, for the focus version, it's Blast, Indirect Fire, awesome, so he got some artillery. It is hazardous, but whatever. 6 plus D3 attacks, so pretty good amount. Hitting on 2s, Strength 9, minus 3, D3 damage. Stinks that's variable, but hey, multi-damage is going out, like, it's pretty good. For melee, he's no slouch either. He's got 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, Strength 8, minus 2 AP, 2 D3 damage, so he'll slap pretty well when he gets in there. Not that many attacks, you don't really want to get him in combat if you can help it, but he'll carry himself pretty well. With the datasheet abilities and the price, I actually like him a fair bit. Do you bring a Lord of Change instead? Probably, but I still think I'll put him in A, to be honest. That whole making stratagems cost more, that can be pretty clutch, especially with how few command points people generate this edition. I like it a lot. Now, as for the real All-Star, Lord of Change, I freaking love this guy. This guy, like, I bring 2 every single list so far. I think he brings some incredible abilities. So, very similar profile to Kairos. 12-inch move, T10, 6-up, 4-up, 18 wounds. So, pretty strong right there. He'll take some hits. For his range attacks, so he's got He's got 2 of them, but really you're going to use the Bolt to Change, the focused version, so it is hazardous, but whatever. 9 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 9, goes up to 10 because of his profile ability, which we'll talk about in a second. Minus 2 AP, D3 damage, so pretty similar to Kairos, but 9 attacks, doing variable damage, like that's pretty good. It'll also hurt vehicles and whatnot, potentially even knights if you buff them with like the enhancement and all that. So I really like that shooting profile. For melee, he's alright. He's got the Baleful, he's got the Staff of Tzeentch. You can bring a Baleful sword, but not sure you will. 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 6, minus 1 AP, 3 damage each. So that's pretty good. You know, you can kill some 3-wound models. And actually, how I said you wouldn't bring the sword, actually you probably would, because when you shoot... No, I'm an idiot. You would bring the Rod of Sorcery. Reason being that it's not a pistol. I kept thinking it was a pistol for some odd reason. So add that onto his other attacks. That'll be 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 8, minus 1 damage, also D3 damage. So this guy's throwing out a boatload of multi-damage attacks each shooting phase. I like that a lot. Especially you deep strike him like behind some unit that you need to take out. Bada bing, bada boom. For his abilities, he's got 2 of them. First one, while a friendly Tzeentch unit is within 6 inches, each time they make a ranged attack, you add 1 to the strength characteristic. So that's how you're getting them up to the strength 10. Pretty valuable. Also works on flamers, also very valuable. The other abilities you got, Master of Magics. In your shooting phase, select one of the following. You can get Ignores Cover, Lethal Hits, or Sustained Hits D3. I think 90% of the time you're going to go for the Sustained Hits. Getting 2 or even 3 of those is like fantastic, and you already should have the strength to like hurt most of the stuff you need to, so I think you almost always take that. Depends on the situation, but yeah, that's pretty damn good. 230 points, this dude's a steal. He goes straight to S tier. In fact, I like him more than even Bellicor. I think like every single list you bring a Lord of Change or 3. The Blue Scribes. I have always loved this guy's model so much. I've always wanted to run him every edition, and every edition he freaking sucks. Unfortunately for 10th, it's debatable, honestly, but I think he continues to suck. His profile, 12-inch move, T4, 6-up save, but 4-up in ball, 6 wounds, pretty decent amount. For melee, ain't got crap. He has 4 anti-psych or 2-up, but they're no AP, 1 damage, 2 strength each, so like, yeah, doesn't really have any damage. For his abilities, so first of all, he has a lone operative. On a 65-point model, like, it's debatable. That is pretty handy. You just hide him in the corner and, you know, screen without having to worry about getting shot. So that, you know, pretty clever. For his other abilities, so he's got Pterorix's Sorcerous Siphon. While an enemy unit is within 12 inches of him, each time that unit makes a psychic attack, subtract 1 from the rune wall. Whatever. So every now and then you might fight an army that has a psychic unit that you can use that against. Gotta be within 12 inches so you don't get the lone ops. So they're just gonna kill him even though you have -1 to wound. So whatever. His other one, Zaraptopus Sorcerous Barrages. At the end of your movement phase, roll d6 for each enemy unit within 6. On a 2 to 3, they take 1 mortal wound. On a 4 to 5, they take d3. On a 6, they take d6. Again, whatever. You have to be within 6 inches. This guy isn't doing any damage on melee, so you don't want to be that close, and then that negates his lone operative. So this guy basically has nothing but the lone operative and the 12-inch move with 6 wounds. Admittedly, that's like not terrible for 65 points, but I don't think it brings anything else. He's basically just eating up points in your army. I don't know if he goes C or D, because like lone op's pretty interesting, but I am going to put him in D. Maybe he even belongs in trash, I don't know, but yeah, as much as I wish I could run him, nah. Change Caster. So this guy is also 65 points, I do believe. He brings some range, he brings some decent damage to your horrors units. You can attach them to horrors. For ranged weapons, you got 2 of them. The focus one is going to be Devastating Wounds, going to be hazardous. 18-inch range, 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 6, -2, D3 damage. So not too terrible. Takes out Marines pretty well. For melee, again, doesn't have crap for melee. For abilities, so while he's leading a unit, ranged weapons get Sustained Hits 1. That's actually fantastic. Sustained Hits is one of the better buffs in the game, in my opinion. On a 65-point model, like, it's pretty good to add to your horse. His second ability, in your shooting phase, after he's shot, choose one infantry unit hit by 1 or more of your attacks. That unit must take a battle shock. As usual, it's a meh, like, whatever. That'll come in handy every now and then, but not really something you should care about. He's alright. He's alright. Sustained hits is pretty good. Then again, I don't think horrors aren't there to really do damage, in my opinion. So, As good as that buff is, I think he still just goes in C tier. If you're bringing horrors, you don't really want to make them more expensive. They're already pretty spendy as it is, so I'm not too sure on that guy. Exalted Flamer. So his whole thing, so he's got two things. He gives, one of his abilities is he'll give Assault to your Flamers. They lost that baseline in the 10th edition move, so that's pretty handy. You want to be able to get up the board and still flame folks with your short range Flamers. His other ability, Flames of Change. In your shooting phase, after you shot, select an enemy unit that's not a monster or vehicle that was just hit by one or more of your attacks. On a 4-up, they're said to be on fire, so that's an awesome, like, fluffy rule. While a unit is on fire, you subtract 2 from their move, and their advance, and their charge rolls. That's pretty clever. I wish it was, like, halved their moves and whatnot, then it would be, like, really powerful. But -2 is pretty good. Versus an army like Death Guard, like, it's just gonna make them want to quit. Right there. For his damage profile, so he's alright. He's got, like, it's not a las cannon, but he's got a pretty strong attack, especially if you get him buffed by, like, a Laura change or whatever. So it's 18-inch range, 3 attacks, hitting on 3, strength 9, -3 AP, so pretty good, and then 3 damage each. So that's some pretty valuable damage to toss in a unit. He's very cheap, by the way. He's only, like, 70 points, I believe. For the 70 points, you get a 9-inch move, T4, 7-up save, but a 4-up invult with 6 wounds. Like, that's not terrible at all for 70 points. And then melee, as usual, you got crap for melee. It is strength 5, but it only hits on 4s, no AP, 1 damage. Guy's pretty good. If you're bringing Flamers, like, he's definitely worthy of consideration. He doesn't buff them that much, but he does give them the assault, so you're gaining an extra, 3 or 4 inches to your range, essentially. The cheap price puts him up there. I do like the 3 damage attacks as well, so I don't think he's bad at all. I just think I'll put him in B tier. Fate Skimmer. Alright, this guy's a bit more expensive. I want to say he's 105, but let's double check. Yeah, 105. Also goes with, I believe it's Horde. No, Screamers. That's right. So he goes with Screamers, unfortunately. So 12-inch move, T7. That's alright. 4-up invul, 9 wounds. It's pretty good. For his range attacks, so focus profile is going to be 18-inch, devastating wounds, 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 6, -2, D3 damage. So that's okay. Get some, get some ranged output out there, some multi-damage range. Check out some Marines. For melee, he does get these, so he gets the crappy Herald stuff, which is, it's -1 AP, but only strength 4, hitting on 4s, 1 damage. He also gets Screamer Bites, so these are extra attacks. He gets 6, hitting on 4s, sadly, but strength 6, -2, 2 damage. So he's okay at doing his melee stuff. For abilities, so while he's leading a unit, they all get lethal hits. It's actually pretty important. Screamers are only strength 6, I believe, so they do struggle against vehicles. Give them lethal hits, and they'll be credible. The other ability, Rider of the Immaterial Winds. So once per battle, at the end of your opponent's turn, you can basically deep strike the unit. That's pretty good. That helps you with board control, helps you with scoring, so that is valuable to have. You won't always use it, but, if you have it, you should use it. I don't really like Screamers, spoiler alert, and adding more to their cost, I'm not too sure about. His profile isn't really not terrible, but I don't think he's, like, valuable enough to actually really bring, so I'm just going to put him in C for now. Flux Master. This guy, I recall him being pretty cheap. Let's double check. Flux. So 60 points. So yeah, that's pretty cheap. Get the 12-inch move, T4, 6-up, 4-up. Only 4 wounds, though, so that kind of stinks right there. Same range profile as all the other ones, so the 3 D3 damage attacks. Crap for melee, as usual. For his abilities, so while he's leading a unit, each time an attack is made, you subtract 1, against that unit, you subtract 1 from the hit roll. It's pretty valuable, especially with horrors and being able to split them and whatnot. Makes them even more annoying than they already are, so we really like that. His second ability, Altered Reality. So once per battle, you can change a hit roll, a wound roll, or saving roll for this guy alone to a 6. That's okay. I mean, he doesn't have a D6 damage weapon, so it's not, like, that valuable, but you can guarantee a save for him. 60 points is pretty cheap. And getting -1 to hit, that is pretty valuable. Yeah, I think he goes in B tier. I think he's a straight-up B tier. The Changeling. So this guy's pretty awesome. I like the Changeling a lot. Pretty basic profile, so just a 6-inch move. T3, so quite low. 4-up invul, though, 5 wounds. Those are okay. He does get Lone Operative and Stealth, so can't be targeted outside 12-inch, and when you do target him, he's -1 to hit. He's also got some really, really cool abilities. So his first one, Formless Horror. Each time an enemy unit wishes, so they just think about it, wishes to select this model as the target of an attack, that unit must first take a battle shock test. If the test had failed, in addition to being battle shocked, that unit cannot target this unit this phase. That's actually pretty awesome, especially if you got your Shadow of the Warp going on and whatnot. Like, there's an okay chance that they'll fail it. Also, people might be afraid that they'll fail it, because, yeah, you don't want to be battle shocked. His other ability, Mischief and Confusion. So, at the start of your opponent's shooting phase, select one enemy unit within 12 inches and visible to him, roll a d6. On a 2 to 5, they subtract 1 from their hit rolls. On a 6, they're not eligible to shoot at all. Kind of sucks that you got to be within 12 inches, because that does put this guy at risk with his lone operative, but a lot of people won't want to shoot him anyways because of fearing the Formless Horror ability, so that's not terrible. Getting the -1 to hit. Also, too, you got to realize he's already got stealth, so it's not going to help that much in that sense, but it'll make him -1 versus everybody else. For his weapons, they're really not too much to write home about, although actually, so the focus one is actually pretty decent. It is 12-inch range, so again, you're negating your lone op if you use it, but the focus one is ignores cover, auto-hitting, 12-inch range, D6 plus 3 attacks, strength 6, -1, D3 damage, so that's alright, you'll pick up a few Marines with that. And then Trickster's Staff, it's only 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, but strength 4, -1 AP, D3 damage, so he's no slouch for his points cost. I said 65, is he actually 75? Let's check. 75 points, so either way, with what he brings, like, that's actually pretty valuable. I think he's like a skill pick, so like, if you're competent in your general way or whatever, I think you can make a lot of use out of him. I am going to put him, I like him a lot. I'm going to put him in A tier. I'm not sure if he really belongs that high, but hey, in my list, so. Alright, for troops and other stuff. Blue Horrors, so the issue with all the Horrors is they're really expensive. The Blue Horrors, I believe, are 140. Let's double check. 125. That's still a lot, so you're paying 12.5 each for a profile of 6-inch move, T3, and 8 up save, though they do have a 4 up invul. 1 wound each, so, and then 8 leadership, so they'll die pretty quick. The 4 up invul does help, but still. Crap for damage output, like their main one is going to be strength 3, -1, hitting on 4s, single damage, like it's really not much, and their melee is like literally non-existent. For the abilities, so they do still get Infiltrate, which is, like, incredibly powerful, especially because these guys still have objective control. So that alone, like, almost makes up for their point cost, honestly. That's always very strong to have for an army, so definitely keep that in mind. Their other abilities, so they still get to split. So anytime they die, you roll die. On a 4-up, they turn into a Brimstone Horror. So they can be pretty annoying to kill. Also, too, you can kind of use that to, like, move towards an objective or whatever. I believe GW put out an errata that said, like, you can basically only use the models that were still alive for coherency. So you can't string out too far, but you'll gain 2 inches with it. So that's, that's pretty handy. Their other ability, Cackling Horrors. So, while an enemy unit is within 6 inches, if you have any blue horrors alive, you subtract 1 from their leadership. That keys off with your Shadow of the Warp ability, so you might get a -2. That's all right. It's not the best thing ever, but that's okay. And then finally, Exploding Horrors. So if you have any Brimstones in them, when you're in the fight phase, you can choose one, roll a die. On a 4-up, it explodes and does a single mortal wound. I wouldn't really do that. I'd keep them as the extra wounds or whatever, but it's there. Maybe you gotta, like, finish off an important unit. Yeah, blow up a couple horrors. The price really sucks on them. I wish they were more like, I don't know, 105 or something like that. I do think they're overpriced for what they bring, but they do have some pretty strong utility, and truthfully, demons really don't have very many demon choices that are, like, viable, so I'll still put them in B tier. I think they're still pretty good. Infiltrate alone kind of puts them up there. Pink Horrors, I believe these guys are 160. Okay, actually that's Bloodletter, so 140, I think. Yeah, 140. Quite expensive. That said, they're only, 15 more than the Blue Horrors, so potentially you consider these guys first. 6-inch move, T3, 7-up save, but a 4-up invul. 1 wound each. They do have 2 objective control each for the main Pink Horrors. Their shooting is a little better, so 2 attacks, hit on 3s, strength 4, -1 AP, 1 damage. That's okay, it's not the worst thing ever. For their abilities, they only get split. So, again, each time they die, you roll a die. On a 4-up, you get 2 blue horrors, and then if a blue horror dies, you get 1 brimstone horror. So that's actually pretty awesome. So you gotta think, each one of these guys, assuming you rolled 4-ups on all of them, which you won't, but each one is actually worth what? That'd be 4 wounds in total. I guess if you have that, so like 2 wounds in total. But either way. So potentially they are still worth their cost. They also get war gear. So Icon, basically they get a +1 of their leadership, so they're all leadership 6. And then you can get the instruments, so add 1 to the charge rolls. You're not going to be wanting to charge with these guys, but it's free, so hey, you may as well bring it. Really freaking expensive, but of the demon troops, I think they're next to maybe Blue Horse. I think they're the most viable. I will still put them... Ooh. They don't have Infiltrate, and I think that's more valuable. I'll put them in B tier. We'll put them right behind the Prince. If they were a little cheaper, you could put them higher. Alright, Flamers. So, these were the bane of 9th edition. These guys are, like, sold out in an instant. Nowadays, they're pretty fair now. They definitely got some nerfs going. So pretty good profile. So 9-inch move, T4, 4-up invul, 3 wounds each. So that's pretty good. I think they're 65 points each. Let's double check. Yeah, 65 points for 3. Coming units of 3 to 6. Usually brings 6, although 3 of them is very viable just for scoring or screening. They're ranged weapons, so it's a flamer, so it ignores cover, which is handy. Auto-hitting, 12-inch range, D6 attacks each, strength 4, -1, 1 damage each. Remember, you can get up to strength 5 if you have Lord of Change nearby. No melee to talk about. And then for their ability, they can fall back and shoot. That's actually okay. If they get charged, you still have the ability to fall back and shoot whoever you want or whatever. So that's pretty alright. These guys are freaking cheap. Auto-hitting Flamers is great. This gives you some play in the Overwatch phase and whatnot. You can attach the Exalted Flamer to them. Like, I like them a lot. I'm going to put them A+ tier. They're cheap enough that, like, you can definitely get some use out of them. Screamers. Yet another unit that, like, tends to fall behind every edition. Reason being that their main issue is almost always been that they hit on 4s for some reason. Like, it's silly. I know they're Tzeentch, but still. Anyways, super duper fast. 14-inch move, T4, 4-up invul, 3 wounds each. So they got a pretty good stat line. For their price, let's double check. I'm not sure, to be honest. Let's look. Screamer. 90 points each, so they're kind of spendy. 30 points each is a bit more than we want. I'd prefer like 75. They do have the Lamprey Bite, so 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 6, -2, 2 damage. So for Tzeentch, that's pretty good. I'm going to be picking up Marines and Infantry and the sort. Their ability is Slashing Dive, so in their movement phase, after the units finish a normal move, you can select the unit moved over and you roll dice for each model in this unit. On a 4-up, you do a mortal wound, and it's not that good. Even if you had a max unit, that's still only 3 mortal wounds. You know, it's okay, like, never hurts to have some plink damage, but still. Wish I could like Screamers. Like, 14-inch move is pretty damn good. That does help you get across the board and whatnot. At that price, though, I would have wanted, like, 16-inch move or a better ability or whatever. So I am going to put them in, unfortunately, I'm going to put them in C tier. You can use them, but they're not the best. And then finally we got Mr. Burning Chariot. I believe you attach him to nothing. Okay, so he runs alone. 12-inch move, T8, so that's alright. 4-up invul, 9 wounds, so pretty powerful for Tzeentch. For shooting, he's got the same as the Exalted, so his main one's going to be 3 attacks, hit on 3s, strength 9, -3 AP, 3 damage each. So that's pretty good AP, pretty good damage. So I like that a fair bit. He does also have a Flamer, so Pink Flame, he gets, it's only 12-inch range, but ignores cover and is auto-hitting. 2d6 attacks, strength 5, -1 AP, 1 damage each. That's nice. You'll pick up some infantry, maybe help clear out a screen with that. He does also get the Screamer Bite, so he gets the 6 attacks, hit on 4 field, strength 6, -2, 2 damage. So that's alright, he can kind of defend himself in melee. For his ability, he has an Eldritch Flame, so in your shooting phase, after he's shot, you can choose one enemy unit that was shot by this guy. Until the end of the phase, they do not get the benefits of cover. It's okay. I mean, a lot of units will have cover, but Tzeentch seems like he has a decent amount of profiles that just ignore that anyways, so I don't think it's the best. It will help the rest of your army if you're doing mixed, which probably most lists will run that way, but, yeah, you know. For his cost, let's see, Burning Chariot, 135, that's a bit spendy for what you're getting there. You're basically getting like 3 damage attacks. That's really not the best. He could run Distraction, he could help you like do board control and whatnot, but I'd want more for that price. I think he goes in C, right above the Screamers. On to Khorne. So, to start off, we got the big man himself, we got Mr. Scarbrand. So dude has wings burned off, so does only have an 8-inch move, quote-unquote only. T11, 4-up save with 20 wounds, so he can definitely take a few hits himself. He does have a flamer, so an auto-hitting, ignores cover, 12-inch range, 2d6 attacks, strength 5, but no AP and 1 damage, so that's kind of meh. Will help clear some chaff every now and then, but either way. However, the reason you bring him is melee profile, so for his strike attack with the Slaughter and Carnage, he's going to get 8 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 16, minus 4 AP, which is great, 6 damage each. So this dude will definitely be murdering some vehicles and infantry and pretty much anything you point him at if you get him into combat. His sweep profile is also fantastic, like arguably even better. 16 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 8, only minus 1 AP, but 2 damage each, so that'll clear out Marines. Pretty handy to have that there as well. For his abilities, I think they could be better, but they're alright. So he's got his first one, Rage Embodied. So while a friendly Khorne demon unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, so not himself, and not a lot of the things you do want to buff, aka monsters. But anyways, while they're within 6 inches, you add one of their attacks characteristics for their melee profiles. That's okay, like, duh, having more attacks is great, and on something like Bloodletters, like, yeah, man, that's actually a huge boost for him. That said, I really hate the fact it doesn't work on monsters. This guy's kind of spendy, he's 365 points, mainly for the other big guys, like, that's not too bad, but either way, I would hope for a little more, at least, you know, buff other monsters, that'd be handy. That said, he does have another ability, so Murder Lust, so while any unit, looks like it includes friends or foe, while any unit is within 6 inches of this guy and they want to fall back, they have to take a leadership test. If the test fails, then they can't. They gotta stand still. You are playing demons, so it's not like you are going to worry about falling back too much. Like, very rarely are you going to want to fall back, but that is something to bear in mind. He kind of hurts you as well. That said, that's very handy for keeping your foe, locked in combat with you, because of course you don't want him to fall back. But you got to remember, too, monsters like Scarbrand and sort, they can be shot now, even while they are locked in combat, so it's not nearly as valuable as it used to be in, like, every other edition. So, as helpful as that is, it's not the biggest thing ever. I do think Scarbrand, truthfully, I think you got better choices in this guy. He's not terrible. If you can get him in a melee, like, yes, he's going to rip and tear like he should, but kind of think he just belongs in maybe B tier. If you're running multiple big monsters, which most of the time you will be, and maybe you're sticking with like Mono God or just going 2 gods, you need some more choices, Scarbrand's not a bad choice. I just think he's not like your first choice like at all. I think he just goes mid B tier. He's alright. 365 points is not bad for what you're getting, but yeah. Now, talking about a pretty good Khorne unit, we got Mr. Bloodthirster here. So I think this guy's superior to Scarbrand in most ways. Really good profile, so he does have the 12-inch move with Fly, for whatever that's worth. T11 still got the 4-up invul and 18 wounds, so very close to Scarbrand. Only 300 points, so a lot cheaper for that very similar profile. He also does, too, he has like variable loadouts, so you can give him a little bit of range if you want. That said, I would stick with his Great Axe. The Great Axe is going to do the most amount of damage and has like the strength you want and all that, so I would stick with that most of the time. His strike profile when using the Great Axe is going to be 7 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 16, minus 4 AP, D6 plus 2 damage, so very similar to Scarbrand, really. Potentially you do even more damage on certain strikes if you roll a 6, which admittedly is rare, but either way, that'll be pretty similar. His sweep is also just as good, so 14 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 10, so better than Scarbrand, minus 2 AP, again, better than Scarbrand, 2 damage each, so that's a fantastic strike profile right there. I also think the abilities are superior. So his first ability, Demon Lord of Khorne. While any Khorne demon is within 6 inches of him, you get to add 1 to the hit roll. So this won't do too much for him, although when he's wounded, it will actually allow him to continue hitting on 2s. So this dude's always going to hit on 2s, which is pretty awesome. But it will also buff any unit, monster or vehicle or whatever that's nearby as well, Khorne. So I do think that's superior than the +1 attack. His second ability is also pretty decent. So at the end of the fight phase, you can choose 1 enemy unit within engagement range, and you roll 8d6. For each 4-up, they're going to take 1 mortal wound. So on average, you're getting 4 mortal wounds on top of whatever other damage you've done beforehand. So that's very powerful. That's pretty useful. Get to finish off a unit that maybe you were just away from killing. I like that a lot. at 300 points, I think he's amazing. Like, I think he's fantastic, honestly. Yeah, I think he belongs in S tier. 300 is a very fair price for what you're getting with that guy. So, if you're running the Demon Mash list, definitely consider bringing him. Mr. Karanak, the Cerberus of Khorne. I forget what his points are. Let's take a look. 85, so he's relatively cheap. For the 85 points, you are getting 12-inch move, T4. He only has he has a 7-up save, but a 4-up invul. 5 wounds, so pretty decent profile for the price. For melee weapons, he has the soul-rending fang, so these are precision, so he's sort of a character hunter. You get 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 6, only 1 AP, but 2 damage each. That's fairly decent for 85 points. I'm okay with that. For abilities, he does have Pack Leader, so while he's leading a unit, you can reroll advanced and charge rolls. That's obviously very fantastic for melee-only units. Pretty valuable to add in there. For his other ability, he has Prey of the Blood God. So at the start of the first battle round, you select one enemy unit to be his prey. Weapons equipped by the unit that this guy is leading, they all get lethal hits when targeting that guy, the prey. And then when the prey dies, you still get to select a new enemy unit. So that's pretty awesome that you still get to choose another one. And that said, like, you know, it's only lethal hits, so 1 in 6 attacks are going to auto wound, and then potentially they'll save it. So not the strongest thing ever, but it's nice to have. Oh, and then he also gets a Caller of Khorne, so he gets a Feel No Pain 3-up against psychic attacks. That won't come up too much, but if you're fighting Thousand Suns or whatever, try to remember you got it. Probably one of those rules that's easy to forget, but, you know, it's there. A 3-up is obviously extremely powerful when it does come up, though. He's alright. I mean, Fleshhounds are also alright, but one of the big things about Fleshhounds is that they're really, really cheap. Like, that's what makes them alright in my eyes, so I'm not sure you want to more than double the cost by bringing Karanak. So, honestly, as cute as he is, I don't think he really brings enough to warrant going too high, so I'm just going to put him, I think he's just mid-C tier. You know, save him for the casual games. Don't really think he's very competitive. Alright, Bloodmaster. This guy is kind of expensive. I think he's 85. Yeah, 85 points. Kind of spendy for the profile you're getting. So you're getting only 6-inch move, T4, with only 4 wounds. Does have the 4-up invul, so, you know, somewhat resilient. 4 wounds hurts, though. Snipers will be able to pick him off. He does have the Blade of Blood, so he does a pretty good amount of damage for his price. It's going to be 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 6, minus 2 AP, and 3 damage each. 3 damage profiles on such cheap units is kind of rare. You do only get 5 attacks, but hey, you know, he'll definitely kill some dudes. For his abilities, so the first one, Bloodmaster. While he's leading a unit, each time a model makes an attack, you add 1 to the wound roll. Obviously, that's going to be super duper powerful versus like Knights and other units that you potentially are wounding on 6s. You literally double your damage output. So, you know, if you look at your meta and you see a lot of vehicles, a lot of Knights, all that sort of stuff, like, he's definitely worthy of consideration. His second ability is a Gory Path. So when his unit consolidates, it can move up to 6 inches instead of 3 inches. Admittedly, consolidation's a little weird in 10th edition. Like, there's a fair amount of restrictions, although a lot of those restrictions have to do with, like, not being able to reach whatever the target is, aka an objective or another unit. By being able to bump that up to 6-inch, that does actually improve the odds of being able to do it pretty well, especially if you can get onto an objective. So I do like that one a pretty decent amount. The huge issue with the Bloodmaster is, spoiler alert, bloodletters. Are you going to be bringing bloodletters? And if you are, do you want to make them even more expensive? And do you also want just the 4-wound little T4 dude being the guy doing that? I'm not too sure. I do like his damage profile. I really like his ability. Like, both of those are just fine. Unfortunately, the unit that he can be attached to is going to hold him back a fair bit. So, sadly, while I think he himself is probably better than it, I'm going to put a mid-C tier. I don't think you really bring him that often. I don't know. What do you guys think, though? Should I not rate him by the unit he's being attached to? Like, only rate him by his own data sheet? Or should I keep, you know, keeping that in mind or whatever? Either way, on to the next one. Skullmaster. I believe he's 105. Let's double check. Yep, 105. This dude rides a Juggernaut, so he can be attached to Blood Crushers. He has a pretty good profile, so especially for 105. So 10-inch move, T7, 4-up invul, 6 wounds, so that's pretty decent. he does have the Blade of Blood, so just like the other guy, so 5 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 6, -2, 3 damage each, so you're getting some pretty good damage out there. He also gets the Juggernaut's Bladed Horns, so it's going to have lance, so +1 to wound, extra attacks. He gets 4 extra attacks, only hit on 4s, strength 6, -1, only 1 damage, so it's not the best thing ever, but, you know, any more helps. For abilities, he's got Skullmaster's Fury, so while he's leading a unit, anytime they finish a charge until the end of the turn, the Juggernaut's Bladed Horns, by all the models in the unit, they get the Devastating Wounds ability. That's okay. You know, that'll be a few extra mortal wounds to go out there. They do have low AP, so it is helpful to help get some damage through, but not the best thing ever. His second ability is Devastating Charge. Each time his unit finishes a charge move, any unit that you're in engagement range have to take a Battle Shock test. We've gone over that plenty of times. That's really not the best thing ever. It's not terrible. Like, again, it'll help you like avoid stratagems and potentially score secondaries, but kind of a shit ability. Definitely trade those out if you were able to. Like, he's not bad with his profile. Like, he puts out a decent amount of damage and has a decent amount of, like, resilience. T7 and 6 wounds for 105 points. It's definitely not terrible. That said, I don't think he brings enough to really warrant bringing. So I'm going to put him in C tier. Poor Khorne. They got a lot of, like, mid-range leaders going on, apparently. Ooh, okay, so this guy is not mid-range, though. Rin Master, I really like this guy. I also really like his model. So, alright, pretty good profile. So, 8-inch move, T9, which is fantastic. 4-up invul, 9 wounds, so pretty resilient dude. He does have the Blade of Blood, so again, just like the other guy. So 5 attacks, 3 damage each, pretty decent. 3 damage is a rarity for the most part, so it's nice to be able to bring that in. He also gets Attendant's Hellblade, so these are extra attacks, 4 extra attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, -2, 2 damage each, so that's fantastic, and multi-damage, 4 extra multi-damage attacks on top of everything else, definitely good to have. For his abilities, though, so this guy, where this guy really pops. So, Blood Throne. At the start of the fight phase, you choose one enemy unit within 18 inches invisible. Until the end of the phase, each time any Khorne demon makes an attack against that target, you improve the strength, armor pen, and damage by 1 each. Holy shit, like that is one of the more powerful buffs in the game that I've seen. That is definitely way up there. I really like having that. And 18-inch rage is a fantastic range for that as well, so it's going to be really hard for your opponent to hide from that. He also gets Champion Slayer on top of that, so each time he makes a melee attack that targets a character or a monster, so pretty handy, you can reroll the wound roll. If he destroys any of them, he himself regains D6 lost wounds. That is pretty valuable, because this guy will be taking some shots, especially when people find out what he does. Like, as soon as you mention, oh yeah, this guy's gonna, you know, he's gonna give me better strength, armor pen, and damage, like, yes, he's gonna be one of the first targets they go for. So being able to regen some of that, pretty handy. Will he also always get near a character? No, but monsters would be pretty easy to get to a lot of the time. He's only 150 points, extremely valid for the for what he's bringing to the table. I like this guy a boatload. Like, maybe if you're going like mono Khorne, you bring a few of them, I would think, potentially. I like this guy a lot. He goes straight to S tier in my book. Very good model to have. Alright, next up, we got Skull Taker. I think he's 85, I want to say. 95, so tidbit spendy for the 95 points, so you get an okay profile. So 6-inch move, T4, 5 wounds though with the 4-up invul, so it's alright. He does get a pretty slick sword, so the Slayer's Sword. Devastating wounds with precision, so he's a character hunter. He gets 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 6, -2, 3 damage each. So this guy will definitely be killing characters. Like, most characters you see are going to be like 4 to 5 wounds most of the time. This guy will chew right through him for the most part. He also gets 2 abilities. So the first ability, Lord of Decapitations. While he's leading a unit, melee weapons equipped by models in the unit, they all get devastating wounds. So that's pretty handy. You can give that to your bloodletters, you know, help them get some mortal wounds through the tougher saves that they might be going up against. He also gets Skulls for Khorne, so each time he makes an attack that targets a character, you reroll the hit roll, and you reroll the wound roll. And like I said, this guy's going to chew through characters, even the like decent ones with like 8 wounds or whatever. Like, chances are he should be able to chew through them. Also, too, anytime he destroys a character, you gain 1 CP. That's not going to come up very often, but that is very handy to have. If he gets in with a unit that has like just some weakling leading it, chances are you're going to get a CP, and with how valuable CP are, like, that definitely goes in the cost of this guy. Unfortunately, just like before, so you do have to count that, you know, Bloodletters kind of suck, so I'm not too sure how often you'll bring this guy. And that said, if Bloodletters get like a point break, or maybe I'm an idiot and they really are like fantastic, like you should bring them, I would think Skull Taker's worthy of consideration at that point. Even though I don't think you'll bring Bloodletters that much, the amount of damage he's doing at just 95 points, like I think that's pretty valid, so I'm going to put him actually in B tier. Not sure if he really belongs at B tier, but either way, I like him a good bit. Speaking of Bloodletters, so I don't know what these guys did to GW, but their main issue is they are ridiculously overpriced. These are 1 wound models. So, okay, we got 6-inch move, T4, 5-up invul, 1 wound each, for 160 points for 10, so 16 points each. Almost the price of a like Marine body, for way worse profile. And they also, too, the Hellblade is only 2 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, -2, 2 damage, so like that's okay, but 16 points, that's ridiculous for these guys. They do get an ability, so blood begets blood. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, you can reroll a wound roll 1. If the target is below half strength, you can reroll the wound roll, period. So that is handy. That does help you get your damage through. So, you know, you need every little bit of that you can to help make up for these guys' cost. But, you know, I don't think it's enough to make up for the cost. Also, too, just like pretty much all the troops, you can bring the icon and the instrument. Obviously, you're going to bring them. They're free. Anything to help the chargers is good. These guys, honestly, like you could use them, you could run them, and maybe they do okay, but honestly, they're so expensive, I gotta put them in trash tier. I don't think you should bring them. I think you need to avoid bringing Bloodletters, like, at all costs. I think you just bring the other gods' troops instead, or something really cheap, like Nurglings or something, although they can hold objectives. But either way, Bloodletters, kind of sad to see them so expensive. Something to help make up for the crappy Bloodletters, I like the Skull Cannon a lot, especially the idea that you can get a pretty good ranged weapon in your Khorne's list of all place, but Demon's list, that's pretty handy. So pretty good profile, so 8-inch move, T9, which is great, 4-up invul, great, 9 wounds, so he's pretty tough, 115 points, so not that expensive. He does have the Skull Cannon, so it's 48-inch range with blast, very important. D6 plus 2 shots, so potentially he'll get a decent amount. He does hit on 3s, strength 9, AP 1, unfortunately, but 2 damage each, so that's pretty handy. Again, that's being able to hit something from 48 inches of range away, very valuable to have for Khorne demons of all of them. His ability, though, so in your shooting phase, after he's shot, you choose one model or one unit that was hit by one or more of those attacks, and they have to take a battle shock. Yeah, I wish it was better, but still, you know, it'll come in handy every now and then. I do actually think, especially if you're going like Mono God or whatever, there is an argument to be said to go for, you know, bring 2 or 3 of these guys, just so you can sit back, hold your objective, and put out some damage at the same time. I'm not sure I'd bring that many, but I do like them a lot. I'm actually, truthfully, I think they go just A. I think they're just solid all around. I don't think you'll do wrong by bringing them in your list. Alright, next up, we got Blood Crushers. These guys are S tier, straight S tier, potentially like one of the top options for S tier. Reason being, these guys are like super efficient points wise, points to damage, and points to like resilience wise. They're one of the best options for demons. For the profiles, they get 10-inch moves, so pretty good. T7, 4-up invul, not the crappy 5 stuff like Bloodletters. 4 wounds each. They are only 120 points for 3 of them, so very cheap. You're getting 12, so basically 10 points a wound. That's a pretty good gauge to shoot for. 10 points a wound is normally considered like fair to good. For the damage, so they're basically a Bloodletter riding a Juggernaut, who'd have thought. So Hellblade, 2 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, -2, 2 damage, and then the horns, it's extra attacks, lance, so +1 to wound, 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, but strength 6, -1, 1 damage. So they'll put out a decent amount of damage for their cost. They also have a pretty good ability, I would think, especially if you're running a full squad, which is probably the way I do it. Brent Stampede, so each time they end a charge move, you select one enemy unit that you got within engagement range, and you roll a dice for each model in the unit. On a 4-up, you do D3 mortal wounds to the enemy unit. So if you're running a full squad of 6 of them, that's 3d3 mortal wounds on average, so 6 mortal wounds just right after you charge from average. Sometimes you'll spike that and do a boatload of mortal wounds, so that's definitely good to have, especially to help finish off a tough unit. You know, maybe it's like 1 or 2 Terminators just left in a unit. There's a decent chance that you'll be able to finish them off with these guys. They do also have objective control too. That's, you know, not the biggest thing ever, but that is handy to have. As always, you give them the icon and the charge, so they will have +1 to their charges. So these guys, straight to S tier. Definitely something you should consider bringing in pretty much all your list. And like I said, I think they go upper S tier, even above some of the greater demons, in fact. Alright, next up we got Fleshhound. So these guys' greatest thing is that they're cheap. They're only 70 points for 5 of them, which I think is pretty good. For that 70 points, you get 12-inch move, T4. You do only have a 5-up invul, but 2 wounds each, so it's fairly decent. Again, 70 points, like, that's pretty good rate. The leader gets a flamer, so you get 1 auto-hitting flamer. It's only strength 4, no AP, 1 damage, so it's not the best thing ever, but, you know, being able to reach out and touch somebody, it's always nice to have. And then for melee, they're not the best either. Gore-Drenched Fangs, so you get 3 attack siege, hitting on 3s, strength 5, -1, 1 damage each. So, you know, they're only really there to kill chaff. Definitely not there to be killing, but getting board control and screening and all that sort of stuff, that is a valuable and something you want to have in most lists. For their ability, they get Pouncing Hunters. So basically, you can use a heroic intervention on them for free, even if somebody else used it. Your demons, most of your guys should be able to handle themselves in melee. Maybe you got to protect a Tzeentch or something like that. Is good. But even if these guys do get into, you know, do the heroic charge, they're not going to do that much damage. So a lot of times you might not even want to because you don't want them to like die or whatever. They do also get the Collar of Khorne. So if you're ever hit by psychic attacks, try to remember you got a 3-up Feel No Pain. I actually like these guys a decent bit. Again, just because they're cheap and they have the good move, I think that is definitely something valuable and worthy of adding to your list. So for now, not sure if I put them in A or B. I do think you have some cheaper options if you need them, but these guys still have objective control. For now, I'm going to put them like upper B. I think, yeah, like any list can use them if they want. You don't have to bring them, but you could use them. And then, finally, I'm not sure why this guy's here. Skull Altar, it's trash. You're not bringing any of these freaking fortifications. This guy, you know, it is interesting that he can infiltrate, and he does have a shadow of chaos around him, which admittedly is, like, pretty handy to have. That will give you the 6-inch deep strike and the +1 battle shock and all that sort of stuff. But oh yeah, it looks like it only works on... Oh, okay, and then, so one other thing. Khorne demons get to reroll their battle shock. Woo! I believe it's 115 points. Also, it doesn't have an invul, so like, what the hell? Yeah, this guy goes straight to trash. I'm not even sure why he's here, to be honest. I always include the fortifications. Like, oh, why is this here? Like, nobody's going to use fortifications. Okay, on to Nurgle. So, to start off, we got big old Rodagus. Dude's, he's only 285 points, which, for the stat line you're getting, like, actually pretty damn good. So, movement 7, a little slow. T12, so same as Big Ass Knight. 4-up invul, 22 wounds. Unfortunately, no Feel No Pain, even though he's Nurgle, so that's a little sad to see, but what can you do? For ranged weapons, so he's got Streams of Brackish Filth. So these got dead wounds that ignore and cover. It is only 12-inch range, but 2d6, strength 7, -2 AP, 1 damage each. So again, good at clearing chaff. It should be pretty decent at that, though. For melee, he's no big slouch. He's got 7 attacks with lethal hits. They're going to be hitting on 2s, strength 8, -3, and 3 damage each. So, not the greatest thing ever for a greater demon, but still, that guy will kill some possess, kill some elite marines or whatever. For abilities, he's got Virulent Blessing. So at the start of the fight phase, you choose one enemy unit within 18 inches invisible. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack made by any Nurgle demon is allocated to that unit, you add 1 to the damage characteristic. I think if you're, like, going Nurgle heavy, or, like, especially if you're going mono Nurgle, this guy suddenly becomes an auto-include. That is literally doubling your output in a whole bunch of situations, and also makes, like, this guy's, makes his Gnarl Rod even better. Like, that is a very powerful ability to have. You gotta remember, too, with each and every demon, you can deep strike them, so you can pretty much put this wherever you want. So, definitely a very powerful ability. His second ability is going to be Deluge of Nurgle, which is an aura, so while an enemy unit is within 6 inches of them, you have the movement and have the objective control of models in that unit. So again, don't forget you can deep strike, and don't forget you got that stratagem that gives you a 3-inch deep strike. Suddenly, you have the choice to have the objective control and have the movement of pretty much any unit you want. That is super duper ultra strong. I like Radagast a fair amount. 285 points is not at all bad for what you're getting. It is a little disappointing. You can't give him like enhancements and that sort of stuff. But either way, again, if you're bringing Nurgle, like I think you bring Radagast. Now, do you bring him above a Great Unclean One? I guess we'll see in a second. But this guy's definitely up there. I mean, yeah, if you're going Monster Mash again, like there's a good reason to like consider Radagast. I think I will put him in S tier for now. We'll see if we move that, but again, he's a really good cost for what you're getting. T12, very valuable. All right, Great Unclean One, so his like direct competitor, I guess, and or partner, depends how you look at it. So 7-inch move, T12, got 20 wounds. So again, very similar to Radagast, very similar to the other guy. This guy is a very similar cost as well, though. He's 280 points, so he's only 5 points cheaper, so you're not getting that big a discount. For his loadouts, you got a couple choices. I would stick with the Bile Sword for the most part. Bile Sword and like the Flail. Flail is going to be 6-inch range, D6 plus 1 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 7, minus 2 AP, 2 damage each, so not the worst thing ever. Helps you kill some Marines that might be in the way. And then for Bile Sword, it's going to have lethal hits. Its strike profile is going to be 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 8, minus 2 AP, D6 damage each, so fair amount of damage for Nurgle, especially. He does also got Vomit, by the way, so this too will help clear out chaff. D6 plus 3 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 5, minus 2 AP, 1 damage each. Minus 2 AP is pretty good, again, at killing like cultists and that sort of stuff. For abilities, that's where this guy gets pretty interesting. So, Demon Lord of Nurgle. It's an aura, 6-inch aura. Pretty much any Nurgle unit, including himself, gets a 6-up Feel No Pain. That is only a 20% boost, but like on his profile, 20 wounds, that's still a decent amount right there. That's what, 4 or 5 wounds on top of what he already has. Also, too, he gets the other ability, Nurgle's Rot. So, at the end of the movement phase, you select one enemy unit within 12 inches. Until the start of your next movement phase, you subtract 1 from the toughness. So, you sort of get the Death Guard ability right there. Pretty decent range, 12 inches. That means you can deep strike and use on somebody. If it's going to give you the +1 to wound, so that can help your entire army right there. Again, 280 points, very fair price for the stat line. And what is awesome about this guy, you can give him enhancements. So if you're bringing Great Unclean One, you're pretty much 100% of the time giving him the 4-up and potentially 5-up Feel No Pain relic. With the 4-up Feel No Pain, this guy literally has 40 wound equivalents at T12 for only 280 points, and that is some of the best in the very game. I do think when you're considering the enhancement and whatnot, I do think he goes in S tier. This guy can definitely carry himself, I think. Ooh, alright, Horticulus Slaanesh. So, this guy's just awesome all around. Super duper awesome model. He's sort of like the reason I got into Nurgle, or wanted to get into Nurgle. Just his model alone was like the coolest thing ever. But he's also got the stat sheet to back it up. So only 120 points. He is pretty slow. So 6-inch move, but T10, 3-up save with a 4-up invulse. This dude actually has a save for demons, so that's pretty interesting. Especially considering you'll probably get cover. 10 wounds, so that's great for 120 points. For his melee profile, it's actually not that bad. He throws out a bunch of 3 damage attacks each. So combined, okay, 2 of them are going to be devastating wounds, extra attacks. They do only hit on 4s, but they'll be strength 7, minus 4 AP, 3 damage each. So that's pretty awesome. Every now and then you'll be able to throw out some mortal wounds with that. And then he himself has the Lopping Shear. So like most Nurgle demons, he has the lethal hits. He does get 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 6, minus 2, and again 3 damage each. So 3 damage, especially for Nurgle, is very valuable to have. So that's pretty nice to see that on this guy. And then for his abilities, so his first one's going to be Beast Handler. While he's leading a unit, by the way, he can lead a Beast of Nurgle. While he's leading him, once per battle, you can use the Heroic Intervention Stratagem for free, even if somebody else used it. Normally, that's not, like, super ultra valuable. Well, I mean, it depends on the army and the unit. But for these guys, you might be able to gain some movement from that, so that's pretty awesome. That's there. And also, too, like, Beast and Nurgles are no slouch in combat, so you'll probably want to use that if it comes up. So, nice that's free. So, nice little perk to have on him. His other ability is going to be Seed the Garden. This one's also pretty damn interesting. So, at the end of your movement phase, so after you deep struck, potentially, if this model is in area terrain, until the end of the battle, that area terrain feature is considered to be within within your Shadow of Chaos. So that's pretty cool. That means that the rest of your army is going to be able to deep strike within 6 inches of the enemy. You get the +1 leadership, all that sort of stuff going on for any piece of area terrain. And some area terrain's pretty big, so it kind of depends where you can go. So that's a pretty clever ability. At only 120 points and having like a real profile and real damage and all that stuff, I like this guy a boatload. I'm not positive he goes in S tier, although like if I were to rate his model alone, yes, he'd immediately go there. I think I'll put him A+. I think A+ is totally fair. Probably higher A+ as well. All right, next up we got Spoilpox Scrivener. I think he's 65. Let's double check. Yeah, 65 points. And for that 65, you get a 5-inch move, so kind of slow, but T5 got 5 wounds with a 5-up invul. So not the most resilient, but T5 does help with that. He does have a cute little pistol. He's got he's got disgusting sneezes, so it is an auto-hitting pistol. Only 6-inch range, and only strength 3 and 1 damage each. So, like I said, it's adorable. Try to remember it. For melee, he's got the Plague Sword and Distended Maw. So, like most Nurgle lethal hits, he does get 6 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, only 1 AP and 1 damage. So he's really not throwing out that much damage. What you do get him for, though, so while he's leading a unit, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit get the Sustained Hits 1 ability. So that's okay. Plague Bearers aren't really known for their melee, so I mean, getting a little bit extra does help, and if you combine it with the +1 damage, which you can also get as well, like, okay, that does start to add up a lot. If you're doing that combo, you might consider this guy. And then his other ability is actually pretty decent as well. Like, I don't normally rate it that high, but it's alright. Basically, you add 1 to the unit's objective control. The reason I say that that's alright is sort of that little, how you can deep strike within 3 inches and potentially try to steal an objective from somebody. And that'll still be kind of rare, because it depends how many models you can fit in there versus them. But if they're just towed in, like, for sure, you can steal an objective from somebody with that. So, I do think being able to put them up to, like, 30 freaking OC is kind of valuable. He's cheap as well. I don't think he brings that much, though. Like, if you're bringing Plague Bearers, do you really want to spend more on him that often? Probably not. But I do think what he brings is just decent, so I'll put him, like, kind of lower B tier. If you're going for the steal an objective, like, trick play or whatever, yes, I think he does belong higher. Epidemius. Cool guy. Cool model. Big fat dude getting carried around by Nurglings. Okay profile. He's at 85 points, by the way, so 5-inch move, T5, 5-up invul, but 8 wounds, so that's alright. He does have the Bale Sword and Nurgling Attendants, so lethal hits, D6 plus 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, -2, 2 damage each, so that is cool that you're getting some 2 damage in your Plague Bearers. That is, pretty clever, and again, you can buff it up to 3 damage, potentially. For abilities, so he has a pretty good ability. The unit he's leading, they all get a 4-up invul. 4-up invuls are very, very strong. Like, literally half the shots that come in at you are being negated. So always something strong to have. Definitely makes this guy pretty valuable if you're bringing Plague Bearers. For his other ability, it's alright. He gets the Tally of Pestilence. So basically, you keep a tally of how many models your Nurgle demons have killed, and anytime you reach 7 by your command phase, you gain a CP, and then you reset the tally. Very matchup dependent, of course. It also depends how much of your army is going to be Nurgle, really. So I don't think that, that's something you count on. Also, too, I think that can, like, screw you. If you, like, make a bad move because you think you're going to try to gain a CP instead of attack a unit you really should. Like, it can cause you to make mistakes, so I am wary of that. That said, a 4-up invul at 85 points, plus the multi-damage, I actually like him a fair bit. If you're bringing Plague Bearers, like, yeah, man, I would super-duper consider him. Honestly, I'm going to put him, like, mid-A. I think it's mid-A. Sloppy Bile Piper, so his whole thing is that he's kind of cheap. He's, like, 55 points. He's got a pretty average profile, so T5, 5 wounds with only a 5-up invul, so not the greatest. Doesn't really do crap for damage. He's going to have 4 strength 5, no AP, 1 damage attack, so not really adding there. For abilities, he does have, so while he's leading a unit, you can add 1 to their move characteristic, and you can reroll advanced rolls made for that unit. And, even though he's like 55 points, I don't think 1 inch of movement is, that big a deal. Alright, the other ability he has Disease of Mirth and Aura. So at the start of the fight phase, every enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, within 6 inches must take a battle shock test. Meh. 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 This guy, like, again, his only thing is that he's cheap. Otherwise, he really sucks. I don't think he really, like 1-inch movement, sure, that's helpful, I guess. But aside from that, doesn't really add anything. If anything, he's like a bad thing for the unit, because suddenly you got a character that potentially gives up Assassinate or something like that. Alright, Poxbringer. I want to say he's 75. Let's double check. Yeah, 75 points, so he's like mid-range price. Similar profiles before, T5, 5 wounds, 5 up invul, so not the best ever. He does get the Foul Bale Sword, so he's going to get 4 attacks, strength 5, -2, 2 damage each, so again, you're getting that multi-damage out there. He does get a 5 up Feel No Pain, so he actually is a little bit more resilient than the other guys, so that is pretty clever. For his abilities, his first one, Poxbringer. So while he's leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, they get critical hits on 5-ups. So that's actually pretty good. That literally doubles your lethal hits output, plus whatever other bonuses you somehow are able to get on there. So that is pretty clever, because, Nurgle has a lot of problems getting damage out there, and this does help with that. So something to bear in mind. His other ability, Feculent Despair. So while an enemy unit is within 6 inches of them, each time they take a battle shock, they subtract 1 from the test. That's cool in the sense that you can combine it with like the Shadow of Chaos, so suddenly they're -2. That will force a decent amount more battle shock failures, but we're talking about battle shock here. It's really not that valuable in the scheme of things, at least not in current 10th edition 40k, so not sure how well I rate that one. I do like the fact he's got a Feel No Pain. I do like the fact that he gives the crit hits, but honestly, even with the 5-up crit hits, I wouldn't expect too much damage out of Plague Bearer, so I don't think it's that valuable. I think 75 points is kind of expensive too. I guess if you go Nurgle heavy, he's probably worth considering, but for now, I'll put him like really low B, potentially even like high C. That guy's kind of hard to judge. Speaking of Plague Bearers, these guys are okay. They're middling. I believe they're 145 points. Let's double check real quick. Yeah, 145. But they do get pretty much like a sort of marine profile. So it's going to be 5-inch move, T5, 2 wounds each, and a 5-up invul. So that's all right when you consider that like Marines are taking AP a lot of the time or whatever. It gets somewhat similar. Their damage output is crap. They're going to get 2 lethal hit attacks each, hitting on 3, strength 4, -1, but only 1 damage each, so really not that good. Again, maybe if you buff it up to 2, they'll start putting out an okay amount, but still only 2 attacks each. For their ability, they basically get sticky objectives. That is always very valuable. I rate sticky objectives fairly highly. I feel like a lot of armies, like, if you have a unit that gives you sticky objectives, that isn't overpriced. You always want to bring just one of them, just to get your home objective on the first turn. I do think that's valuable. That said, these guys are kind of spendy, 145 points for pretty much doing nothing but sitting on objectives, and hopefully being kind of hard to kill. You can combine them with Epidemius, get that 4-up invul, then they really will be kind of annoying. Get a great unclean one, so they get the 6-up Feel No Pain, and all that sort of stuff. There are ways to boost them if you're going like Nurgle heavy. That said, I think they're just mid-tier. I don't think they're bad. I definitely think you can use them as troops, and because of that, I'll put them in just like middle of B, potentially lower B. Really don't hate them. I kind of, I love Nurgle models too, so maybe I'm biased on some of this stuff. Speaking of being biased about models, Beast of Nurgle. That said, you gotta literally sell your kidney well, luckily they come in units of 2 now, but these guys are super expensive. Awesome model though. Anyways, 75 points each. You run them in units of 1 or 2. Decent profile, so fairly slow. They got a 6-inch move, T9 though, 5-up invul, 7 wounds each, so not terrible for 75 points each. They do throw out a decent amount of damage, at least for Nurgle, so it's going to be devastating wounds, 6 attacks, only hit on 4s, but strength 6, -1, 2 damage each. Again, you can boost that up to 3 damage, and in that case, with the devastating wounds, with 2 of them, that's a fairly decent amount of damage that you'll be throwing out. For their ability, so at the end of each phase, if a Beast or Nurgle model lost any wounds but isn't dead, they regen all their wounds. With T9 and 7 wounds, it's actually pretty good. It's going to take some like dedicated firepower to kill these guys. And again, at 75 points, like that's not terrible at all. You throw Mr. Slimix in there too, and they suddenly get pretty damn annoying. I like them a lot. I think they're just solid A. All right, Plague Drones. So these guys, I think they're really good. I think they're pretty good. It's 120 points for 3 of them, and that's 15 wounds. That's a really good rate. And that's not even mentioning the 10-inch move, T8, which is great, and then 5 wounds each, only 5 up invul. But again, anything that's not like anti-tank, it's going to have a lot of trouble wounding these guys. They have an okay, for Nurgle, they have an okay amount of damage output, especially at their price range. So they do get ranged weapons, so they get Death's Head. So there's going to be Blast, which is awesome, Lethal Hits, which is alright, only 12-inch range, only D3 attacks each, and yes, they hit on 4s, Strength 4, no AP, 1 damage. But either way, you find a big enough unit, like you'll be throwing a lot of blasts on them. For melee, they do okay for melee as well. So you got the Foul Mouth parts. So extra attacks 2, lethal hits, only hit on 4s, but strength 5, -1, 2 damage each. So we always love getting multi-damage, especially as Nurgle, especially if you boost it up to 3 damage. And then they got the Plague Sword. So 2 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 4, -1 AP, 1 damage each. Not bad at all. For their ability, they got Death's Head. In your shooting phase, after this unit is shot, choose one unit that was hit by 1 or more attacks. Until the end of the turn, each time another Nurgle unit makes an attack against that target, you can re-roll the wound roll. Holy hell, like that is a really good combo to have with the rest of your army, you know, depending how you play it or whatever. Super duper love Plague Drones. I think even if these are the only Nurgle units you bring, like, I still think they're pretty good. Even though, like, you won't benefit from the ability at that point or whatever, they just have so much resilience for the price, plus the 10-inch move. I like these guys a lot. I think they belong up in S tier along with the Juggernauts for sure. Nurglings. I'll just tell you right off the bat, S tier. I freaking love Nurglings. There are, like, so many ways you could use them too. I've been messing around with them, and a lot of times they end up being MVP. They can and will win you the game from turn 1. Move blocking should be like the most obvious way to do it. So you deploy them 9-inch, like as close as you can from the enemy deployment. Preferably you bring either a big ass squad or, better yet, multiple squads of them. By the way, you can bring 6 squads of 9, I believe. I did the math and it was like a ridiculous amount of wounds for only like 800 points. It was like, I'll have to look it up. I'll try to post it in like a screen cap or whatever. But it was something ridiculous. I forget. But anyways, so hard to kill. You can use them that way. So you can move block, force people to also be slow or deforced into their deployment zone. On top of that, even though they don't have objective control, you can still score with these guys. These guys are like tailor-made for behind enemy lines and deploy teleport homers and all that sort of stuff. I freaking worship Nurglings. I think you should consider bringing them for every single list. Now, yes, they are pretty weak. They did get buffed to T3, but they're still pretty weak. Only 8 leadership as well, so like they will fail leadership a lot. Not that that matters at all, actually, so ignore that I said that, but really good rate on the price. So 40 points for 3 bases. That's going to be 12 wounds, so insane wound to a point ratio right there. They do crap for melee, but they actually will put out, like, they'll do some plink damage every now and then. So it's going to be lethal hits, 4 attacks each, so 12 attacks for a min squad of them. Only hit on 5s, strength 2, no AP, 1 damage. But with the lethal hits, like, yeah, you'll get wounds through every now and then for sure. And then their ability is actually alright. Mischief Makers. While an enemy unit was within 6 inches of them, excluding monsters and vehicles, they have to subtract 1 from their melee attacks. Hit rolls for melee attacks. That's actually pretty good, pretty clever. When you get like Khorne or Slaanesh or whoever else in there, these little guys will be back there backing them up. I freaking love Nurglings. Like I said, I think you should bring them all the time. I think too there will be lists that bring like 5 squads of 6 or whatever and just like completely blanket the opponent's side of the map. I do think you'll kind of see that. Stinks that they don't have objective control, but honestly it's completely fair. I think they belong like upper S tier. I love them. Any cheap unit, especially ones with infiltrate, holy crap. Yeah, they belong in S tier in my eyes. And yet again, we got another fortification. This one's 100 points, so still way too expensive. T9, no invul, what the hell. 4-up save, though. the same thing as the other guy. You can infiltrate, and then you get the Shadow... Well, do you get the Shadow Chaos? No, you don't even get the Shadow Chaos, so this is even worse. You do get the Stealth ability only for your Nurgle units. So, trashed here, we won't even, like, dwell on that. Ooh, alright, so on to Slaanesh, and on to a really fun one. So, Shalaxi, oh my god, there is a debate if she is, like, one of the best data sheets in the game, like, period. And honestly, like, I haven't read every single data sheet, but the ones I have read, yeah, I'd put her up for nomination. So, alright, this person is nuts. So, 14-inch move, fantastic. T10, pretty good. 4-up invul, fantastic. 20 wounds with a 5-up, feel no pain. So Shalaxi, all of a sudden, is more resilient than like Radagast, and even a great unclean one until you give him the relic. So, pretty crazy profile, just to start with, like, the stat line. Then, she's got a boatload of weaponry, so she's got a Lash of Slaanesh, so you got 6 attacks, only 12-inch range, but hitting on 2s, strength 6, -1, 2 damage each, so you're throwing out some marine killers. You also got the Pavane Slaanesh, so boosted, it'd be 18-inch range with devastating wounds and sustained hits 3. Only D6 attacks, but hitting on 2s, strength 9, -2, D3 damage. So again, you're getting some multi-damage out there. Definitely good to get that at range. And then you get her melee profile. So our main one's going to be Soul Piercer. So precision, this chick is definitely an anti-character, as well as an anti-like everything, but precision, so 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 14, -3 AP, D6 +2 damage. So already looking great, right? Also get the Snapping Claws on top of that. So extra attacks, devastating wounds, so you get some more wounds potentially. 4 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 6, -2, 3 damage each. So already crazy amount of damage. Then you look at her abilities. So first one's going to be Cloak of Restriction. At the start of each fight phase, you choose one enemy unit within engagement range. Until the end of the phase, they have to subtract 1 from their attacks characteristic for their melee weapons. So already, that's pretty good, especially if you get into heavy hitter units. Usually, they don't have as many attacks to make up for the damage you're doing. So potentially, you can negate a whole lot of damage, not just to herself, but anybody else who's there. Her second ability, though, that's where it really gets good. So first of all, anytime she declares a charge against a monster, vehicle, or character, she can re-roll the charge roll. Already, that's great. Those are like the 3 main targets that demons especially are going to struggle with, and pretty much every army wants to take care of. On top of that, she also, each time she makes the melee attack against said units, so monster, vehicle, character, she gets to re-roll the hit roll, the wound roll, and the damage roll. I did the math hammer on Unit Crunch of her killing just like a typical Imperial Knight, and I think it was something ridiculous, like 96% chance that she will kill a Knight. You gotta figure, too, 14-inch move with the re-rolling charges and all that, like, hot diggity damn. You can also Deep Strike her, so 9-inch charge re-rolling, not the, like, most reliable thing ever, but it is an option that's there. Either way, yeah, dude, this lady, she goes very tip-top of S tier. I think, like, if you only own one Keeper or whatever, like, you need to run her as Shalaxi, 100%. Shalaxi is a baller. Alright, next up, so we got Keeper of Secrets. So, Keeper of Secrets, she's one of the more expensive ones. She's 330 points. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but Shalaxi's 400 points, so you're definitely paying for what you get. But Keeper, 330 points, pretty similar profile, really. So, 14-inch move, T10 with 18 wounds. You can give her the Shining Aegis, which, by the way, always give her the Shining Aegis, for also getting a 5-up Feel No Pain, which would make her basically the second most resilient demon, which is kind of hilarious, considering we're talking about Slaanesh here. You do have different loadouts, but again, you always want to go with the Shining Aegis. I used to always go with Whip because I love putting out the 2 damage attacks, but nah, you want to have that Feel No Pain for sure. Pretty similar-ish profile, so you can give her, or has, Wit Stealer Sword, so it's going to be, I guess not that similar, but 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 8, -2, and 3 damage each, so pretty good amount there. And then she does also have the Slapping Claw, so the devastating wounds, 4 3 damage attacks, so you get some, you get some dev wounds through every now and then. For abilities, they're pretty good. So, first one's going to be Demon Lord of Slaanesh. So, 6-inch aura, any Slaanesh demon gets +1 to their AP for melee weapons. That's very good to have. A lot of units like cap out at like 2 AP, including herself. By getting that +1, suddenly you're going like pretty much elite tier, if not better, for the AP. So that's definitely very valuable to have. Also, too, Slaanesh, a lot of their units are going to struggle with the strength or whatever. So having good AP helps make up for that. Helps make sure that the attacks that do get through do wound. She also has Mesmerizing Form, so each time an attack targets this model, whether ranged or melee, it's -1 to hit. You include that with her 5-up Feel No Pain and the T10 and all that sort of stuff. That makes her really damn resilient. I really like to keep her secrets. She is kind of expensive, so potentially she's not your first choice when you look at the Greater Demons, but I do think she belongs right up there in S tier. She's definitely a pretty damn good model. You could totally run her and Shalaxi, or like any combination of those Greater Demons, and probably have a good time. Alright, next up, we got Sileski. Pretty damn expensive. I believe they're 140 points. Let's double check. Come on, where are you? There she is. Okay, 140 points. So yeah, pretty damn expensive. That said, they do regen, so one of their abilities is the Delightful Agony. So the first time they die, you roll a die, and on a 2-up, so pretty damn good odds, she's going to come back with full wounds remaining. That does kind of change the calculation when it comes to the, the resilience factor or whatever, because their profile is pretty decent. So 9-inch move, really good. T6, 4-up invul, 9 wounds each. So in a sense, you most likely are getting 18 wound profile. She can be attached to Demonettes, but Demonettes themselves are 140 points, so you're literally doubling the cost of the unit. That said, though, so I was thinking about it earlier. Maybe there's like a strategy where you still run her with the Demonettes, and then you just use Sileski to tank everything. So, like, you try to get your Demonettes up the board, because one of the big issues with Demonettes, we'll get to soon, they die like flies or whatever. But I was wondering, like, yeah, what if you use Sileski to, like, tank all the shots, see if you can get your Demonettes up to, like, turn 2 or 3 or whatever to actually make their charge. So probably not worth it because you're spending 140 points on it, but kind of clever idea, right? For weaponry, she does throw out a pretty good amount of damage. So for range, you got Cacophonic Choir. So the focus version is going to be ignores cover, dev wounds, auto hitting, 2d6 attacks, strength 6, -1, only 1 damage, but still, that's pretty decent. She also got the Scourging Whip, so it's assault, only 9-inch range, but 6 attacks, hit on 3s, strength 4, -1, 1 damage. Again, not the greatest, but you'll plink a few wounds through. She got a big ol' axe, so Axe to Dominion, it's going to be 6 attacks, only hitting on 3s, unfortunately, and also only strength 7, sadly, but -2 AP and 3 damage. That's pretty decent, especially compared to what Demonettes normally do. And then you also get to use the Scourging Whip in melee. It's extra attacks, 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 4, -1, 1 damage. So pretty decent amount. Granted, maybe not for 140 points, but it's alright. For abilities, so we already went over Delightful Agonies. The other one's going to be Prince of Slaanesh. So while they're leading a unit, you basically get crit hits on a 5-up. So that's, that's actually pretty good. Help you get more hits through. Either way, pretty damn expensive, and it's arguable if Demonettes are really that good a unit or not. The fact they regen on a 2-up is a pretty big bonus, along with the 4-up invul, so I don't think they're terrible. And if you're doing a friendly or casual game, try that. Try the whole have her tank everything, and let me know how it goes. I'd be very interested to hear. But I think I'll put them like bottom of B. I don't think they're terrible. They do an alright amount of damage, and again, the regen's like pretty big in my eyes. So yeah, we'll just put them in B. Contorted Epitome. Ooh, I want to say 85 points. Let's check. 85 points. What do you know? I'm on a roll today. Anyways, pretty okay profile for that cost. So 9-inch move, T6, 8 wounds, and then a 4-up invul. So pretty decent for 85 points. Like, that's fair. Melee only, so you got the Coiled Tentacles. It's going to be D6 attacks. Sucks that's random. Also only hits on 4s. Also sucks. But strength 5, -1, 2 damage. So, you get some multi-damage out there. Ravaging Claws. It's Devastating Wounds. So that's interesting. 8 attacks. Hitting on 2, strength 4, -1. Only 1 damage. So you'll plink through a few mortal wounds. She can be attached to Demonettes. So do bear that in mind. Her abilities kind of suck, though. They kind of leave a lot to be desired. So our first one's going to be Swallow Energy. Yeah, Slaanesh should be swallowing some energy. While she's leading a unit, they get a 4-up Feel No Pain versus psychic attacks. So, whatever. Might come in handy once every 6 games or 10 games or something like that. Really don't rate that too high. And then her other ability, Horrible Fascination. This one's actually pretty cool. At the start of the opponent's shooting phase, one of your contorted enemies can choose an enemy within 12 inches. You roll dice. On a 2 to 5, they subtract 1 from the hit. On a 6, they can't shoot that phase. So that's actually pretty cool. If you got her near like a big knight or whatever, a tyrant or something like that would be awesome to prevent them from shooting. That alone could decide the game. The thing is, you got to get within 12. You got 1 in 6 odds. It's almost never going to happen. So it's not really something worth considering. I'd be afraid of forgetting that rule, to be honest. Unfortunately, I don't think she really brings enough. She does have that interesting profile. 85 points, not bad for 8 T6 wounds. But at the end of the day, I really don't think she brings enough. I think she goes D tier, to be honest. Probably top of D, potentially like very bottom of C. Transweaver. She's cheap. I want to say 60 points. Let's look. 60 points. Ding, 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 ding. She has, she's all right. She does 6 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 4, -1, 1 damage each. Issue is, my big issue with her is she's only T3 with 3 wounds, so she is ultra, flimsy, but I did forget she has an incredibly powerful ability, so maybe I shouldn't talk so much trash yet. She does have 9-inch move, which is also pretty fast, so her ability, she can be attached to demonettes, she gives them fight first. That is I wish Slaanesh had it from the get-go, but that is ultra valuable when it comes to melee armies. That helps you counter other melee armies, and also basically guarantees you get your damage through on either player's turn. Super duper powerful. If you're bringing demonettes, I'd be very, very tempted to bring these ladies and attach them to each squad, because you want that fight first. And 60 points, that's pretty fair. Yes, she only has 3 wounds and a T3 and only a 5-up in ball, by the way. So, she's sniper food for sure. But if you could manage to keep her alive, that fight first is damn powerful. She also has a Symphony of Pain, so at the end of your movement, you can choose one enemy unit that is battle shocked within 12 inches. Until the end of the turn, each time another Slaanesh demon attacks that unit, you can reroll the hit roll and the wound roll. That is kind of cool, because there are ways to force battle shock for the demons. You got the skull cannon and that sort of stuff. So there are ways to do it. And that said, we're still talking about battle shock. It's really not as reliable as you might hope, at least not in the current way that's being done. So that one is very powerful. So maybe it's not trash or whatever, like a lot of them are. But don't expect it to happen too often. Ooh, this one's kind of hard to rate. I mean, demonettes with her are quote-unquote only 200 points, so it's not the most expensive thing ever, being able to get the fight first and all that. So I do like that. But for real, any sniper, anybody with precision is just going to eat her for lunch. So that's going to hurt quite a bit. But I do like that fight first. I got to rate the fight first pretty high. I'm going to put her bottom of A. Maybe that's too high. I'm not sure, but fight first is invaluable. All right, Infernal and Rapturous. 75 points. Let's check. Play the game with me. Every time I open up, guess what the point? I have 65. All right, I was close. All right, 65 points for 9-inch move, only T3, yikes. Only 3 wounds, yikes. And a 5-up in ball. So, again, we got some issues right there. That said, you get a las cannon for your freaking demons. That right there is not something you see every day. So, potentially makes her worth bringing. Maybe, I don't know. She does so. It is assault. 24-inch range, only 1 attacks, but hits on the 3s, and straight up it's a las cannon. So, strength 12, -3, d6 plus 1 damage. So, fairly decent. You can attach your demonettes, so you can kind of keep her protected in that sense, although that's a kind of expensive bodyguard right there. She does have 5 attacks in melee. They're only AP 1 and 1 damage, so not the best thing ever, but she can kind of defend herself. For ability, she's got harmonic alignment, so while she's leading a unit, in your command phase, you can return D3 destroyed bodyguard models. So you know what? I was thinking about that as well before the game. If you manage to, if your demonettes didn't get wiped, first of all, and only a few of them were killed, and you managed to bring back 3 of them, even just once, you would almost pay for this model. So, that's pretty interesting, I thought. Thing is demonettes are gonna, you know, die like flies or whatever, so I don't think you can really count on that. But, like, that's something to bear in mind. If she did it for 2 or 3 turns and managed to bring back, like, I don't know, 6 or 7, you would actually get, like, a point surplus with her. So I did find that pretty interesting. I don't think that's something you should really plan for, but something to bear in mind. Her other ability is going to be Discordant Disruption. This one sucks. While an enemy Psyker unit is within 12 inches of this model, psychic weapons equipped by models in that unit have the hazardous ability. So even versus Thousand Suns, like for the most part, that'll only affect like 2 of them. That said, that would prevent them from using like the Stratagem or whatever that turns them all into psychic weapons. So like, you know, maybe look at your meta, and if you see you see a lot of psychic armies, maybe consider this chick. But otherwise, you're really not going to see that often. And again, it's only going to affect, a lot of times, it's only going to affect a couple models in the unit. So I'm not sure how high I rate that. I do like the regen. I really like the las cannon, but only having T3 and 3 wounds kind of holds your back, especially with a 5-up invul. Even just a 4-up invul, I think, would have bumped her up quite a good bit. But I mean, if you count in the regen, if she managed to get that regen, she will almost pay for herself and or at least be a really cheap character. So that actually, I think, does put her, you know, okay. I think she just goes B, like lower section of B, I think. Alright, the Mask of Slaanesh. Unfortunately, she's pretty spendy is her issue. So she's 105 points, 9-inch move, T3, only 4 wounds, but she does have a 4-up invul, so, you know, you got that. She throws out a decent amount of damage, so she got the serrated claws, devastating wounds, 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, only strength 4, AP 1, but 2 damage each, so that's alright. You'll get some mortal wounds through, kill a few Marines. For abilities, she's got a cool one. So at the start of the fight phase, select one enemy unit within 6 inches. Until the end of the phase, you pick one of the following. So each time a Slaanesh Demons unit makes a melee attack that targets it, you add 1 to the wound roll, so that's pretty powerful. The other one is each time that unit makes a melee attack, you subtract 1 from the wound roll. That's pretty valuable for Slaanesh of all of the demons, because, you know, obviously they usually have T3 or at least low toughness in general. So I would probably choose that one most of the time. Granted, if you like charge a bunch of units and you think you can kill the unit first, definitely go for the first one in that case. Her other ability is Dazzling Acrobatics. Basically, she can advance, fall back, and charge. Definitely good to have. You don't have that on too many units in this army, unfortunately. So her having it, very powerful. I definitely should have mentioned, by the way, that she has Lone Operative. She also has Fight First. So, like, pretty good abilities we're looking at here. Thing is like, so to do anything, she has to get close to him, and when she gets close to him, like, even pistols are gonna hurt this chick. She does have the 4-up invul, so that helps, but still, I think she's gonna die really quick. There is the other route of, like, using her just, like, screen or take objectives or whatever, but I think she's a little spendy for that. And don't forget, so only 6-inch range on that, on her Eternal Dance ability, but don't forget, she got the 3-inch Stratagem, so theoretically, if you needed to, if you need like a big Alpha, or I guess Beta Strike, whatever you'd call it, turn 2 or whatever, don't forget that you can bring her in and pick a unit to do that too. So that is something to bear in mind. Costs a CP to do it, so, and then you probably lose her next turn, but it's there. I wish she was a little cheaper, like even 90 points, maybe even 95 or something. Just a little price break would really push her over the edge. I don't think she's like terrible at all. Fight First, Lone Op, being able to debuff is pretty cool. The 2 damage, like, all that's good. It's just 4 wounds on a T3 for 105 points, kind of hard to accept. I don't think she's bad at all. I'm gonna put her like very bottom of B. Maybe she belongs higher. I have heard a decent amount of people like talk highly of her and seem to like her, but me myself, like, I'm all about that efficiency, man. All about that efficiency, and she, unfortunately, she ain't got it. Okay, we're on to the Demonettes. So, the Foot Troops of Slaanesh. They're okay. They're, like, just below okay in my eyes. I think they're a bit too expensive is the issue. 140 points for a T3, 1 wound, 5-up invul unit. Sure, they're fast and kind of deadly, but I think they're going to die way too quick. They're like the obvious choice just to put bolters into. You know, just like incidental firepower will delete these guys. So I wish they had a little price break. Something like even 120 or so would have been a lot more fair. That said, so you get the slashing claws, so it's going to be devastating wounds, which is all right. Pretty good to have. You put Selesky in there, and, you know, you're getting actually a fair amount of mortal wounds going through. So, Dev Wounds, 3 attacks each, hitting on 3s, strength 4, -1, only 1 damage each, so not the best ever, but again, you get some more wounds every now and then. For ability, they got Swift Talon Slaughter. So each time a model in the unit makes an attack, you can reroll a hit roll of 1. If you're within range of an objective that you do not control, actually, if you're in range of any objective marker, you just reroll the hit roll, period. So that's actually pretty good. Gets you about basically like 100% hit rate, or like 90 some odd percent or whatever. That's pretty decent. You get 30 hits if you manage to get a full squad in there. Don't count on it, but hey, it's there when you need it. As usual, don't forget the icon and the +1 to charge rolls with the instrument. So they are quick, they will help you get across the table and whatnot, but way too flimsy. Like I said in the beginning, I think they're just below, okay, they're like just below a good troop. You can definitely use them, you can run them, like, at the very least, they'll make decent distraction, I would think, but I think they go, like, top of C, I would think. I'd kind of avoid them if I could help it, essentially. That said, if you're going mono Slaanesh, you might just bring them anyways. Alright, Seekers. I actually like these a fair bit. So, 95 points for 5 of them, so 10 wounds. They do have a 14-inch move, which is fantastic. T4, so for Slaanesh, pretty good. 5-up in-ball, but again, 2 wounds each. They do have a decent amount of melee attacks going out. So, Lashing Tongue, so on top of the dev wounds, like Slashing Claws like before, they also get Lashing Tongues. So, there's going to be extra attacks, lethal hits. It's only 2 attacks hitting on 4s, no AP, but 1 damage each. So, that's nice. You'll get an extra, like, wound for each base you got in there. For their abilities, so this is where they get kind of spicy. They got Scouts 9-inch, so pretty decent range on their Scouts. Yeah, that's your the movement. You gotta think, first turn, they're moving, what, 23 inches before charging? Like, damn, dude, you probably get the first turn charge if you're using that. Also, too, they can reroll their advance and their charge rolls. That just plays into them being first turn chargers. I actually like them a lot. I think they're very valuable for pretty much any Demon's Army. Again, even if you don't use them for the melee or whatever, well, first of all, you can just use them for, like, blocking, board control. So, rush them turn 1, they'll probably die, but it doesn't matter. Your opponent didn't get to move out of his deployment turn 1. That alone is worth 95 points, if not a couple hundred points, you know? But even if you don't use them that way, use them for scoring, use them for screening, use them for reserves, use them like any of those ways. I really, really like Seekers. I do think there's something you consider. Yes, they are flimsy. Yes, they'll probably die pretty quickly once firepower gets pointed at them, especially damage 2 stuff, like that'll just cut through them like butter, but I think they're fantastic. I'm actually going to put them A+, right along with Flamers. I think they're great, definitely worth looking into. Fiends, alright, unfortunately these guys got, like, way overcosted for some odd reason. They're 50 points each, so min-sized unit is 150 points, I believe, right? They come in unit. Okay, yeah, I was like, right? Unit of 3 to 6, way too expensive for what you're getting. Like, sure, all right, they got 12-inch move, T5 with 4 wounds, but only a 5-up save. They do have OC2, which kind of helps. They have all right damage as well, to be honest. Devastating wounds is going to be 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 5, -2, 2 damage each, so it's all right. Like, you'll do some mortal wounds with each one. And then for their ability, it's kind of similar to how it used to be. While an enemy unit, excluding vehicle and Titanic units, is within 6 inches, each time they make a melee attack, you subtract 1 from the hit roll. And then also, this is kind of cool, each time they do a desperate escape, you subtract 1 from the test. Like, that won't come up that often, but again, your demons, you have an okay amount of ways to force battle shock, so every now and then that would come up. I think they're way too expensive. Again, even if you just cut it down like 10 points per or whatever, that would make them much more, like, acceptable. But as it is now, I don't think you really bring them. Yes, they're finesse picks, so, like, good generals, I think, can definitely get, like, their points worth out of them. But for now, I think they're just, like, they just belong in C, like, lower mid-C, I would say. Way too expensive. Alright, we're on to the chariots. So, Seeker, I want to say it's 65. Let's see, though. I'm really not sure. Seekers, 90, 75 points. So, decent price. For that 75 points, you're getting 14-inch move, T6, which is fantastic for Slaanesh, 7 wounds with a 4-up in-ball, so that's actually fairly resilient. She does get a whip. It's only 6-inch range, but it is 6 attacks, hit on 3, strength 4, no AP, but 1 damage each. And then for attacks, she gets a decent amount, so she's going to get 9 devastating wound claw attacks. Those are hitting on 3s, strength 4 and -1, only 1 damage each, but pretty good at clearing, chaff and whatnot. She also gets the Seeker Tongues. She can get 4 of those, hitting on 4s, no AP, but 1 damage each. Also, she gets the Scythed Impact ability, so each time she makes a charge move, her melee weapons get the Anti-Infantry 4-up ability, so you'll put through a decent amount of wounds, especially combined with the Devastating wounds. Like, that'll add up. For 75 points, she's really not that bad. You get some fast movement. She's a fairly big base, so again, you can get that move blocking and board control if you need it. She's pretty alright. I don't know if you bring her all the time. Like, she's not like a fantastic sheet or whatever, but she's not bad at all. I'm going to put her bottom of A, I think. Alright, Exalted Seeker Chariot. So this is the really big chariot. I don't know if you've ever owned one, but they're pretty big bases. She throws out a boatload of attacks. If you include her lashes, what is it? It's going to be 22 plus, so 28 attacks. Her lashes, by the way, are Anti-Infantry 3-up, Assault, and Pistol. So that's pretty neat. No AP and 1 damage each, but either way, you know, again, it adds up, especially with the Anti-Infantry 3-up. And then she gets 14 Devastating Wound, Slashing Claws attacks. Again, the same as before, so 1 AP and 1 damage. But that's a boatload. That'll definitely chew through some weaker units. And then she gets 8 of the Exalted Seeker Tongues. Again, lethal hits. 8 of those hit on 4s, no AP, 1 damage. For ability, she gets Infernal Engines of Torment. So in the fight phase, after she finished making her attacks, if 1 or more enemy units were destroyed, every enemy unit within 6 inches must take a Battle Shock test. That's meh. Like, it is demons, so, like, okay. But it's the end of the fight phase, so almost end of the turn. I don't think it's really that valuable of ability. Kind of sucks that that's her ability. She's also really expensive, if I remember. She's like 140? Let's look. Oh man, where's E? Alright, there it is. 115. Okay, so I way oversold the price. But 12 wounds, T6, 4-up in wall. It's actually not terrible. Again, I wish she had a better ability. You're basically only buying the stats with this one, I would say. She's big, though. She can definitely help with move blocking. Again, she can help with scoring. I think she goes, yeah, probably very bottom of B. I'd rather bring a Seeker, essentially. A Seeker is almost half the cost. I'd rather bring them, I think. Alright, Torment Bringer on Exalted Chariot. I thought we were done with the characters. Alright, is this one 140? Is that what I was thinking? Let's let's look. 160, holy shit. Alright, she's really expensive. Let's take a look there. So for 160, we're getting basically identical profile or stat line as before. So 14 inch, T6, 12 wounds, 4-up pinball. So that's okay, but not really for 160. Looks like near identical damage output. I think she gets like 1 more attack, so alright. Let's take a look at the abilities then. So, while a friendly Slaanesh demon unit is within 6 inches, melee weapons get the Sustain Hits 1 ability. That's actually pretty damn powerful. Slaanesh demons do throw out a fair amount of attacks, so, you know, adding exploding hits on top of that, pretty useful to have. I kind of like that. Is it worth 160? That's debatable. Her other ability is Hysterical Frenzy. So this is a psychic ability. Once per fight phase, just after an enemy unit selects a Slaanesh demon nearby that's within 6 inches, you can use this ability. If you do, they basically get Fight on Death on a 4-up. That's alright. I don't like Fight on Death is extremely powerful, but I don't really like it on a 4-up. It's not that reliable, really. And even then, like, even with Demonettes, only getting like 4 or 5 of them to attack, like, yeah, it'll kill a couple models depending on what they are. But again, I don't think it's that valuable. I do like her Torment to bring her ability. The Sustain Hits is pretty damn useful, but for 160 points, like, nah, I'd rather bring some other units. I'd rather bring, like, Blood Crushers or something for that. So I'm gonna have to put her... I mean, it is a strong ability. If you go mono Slaanesh, like, there is a reason to bring her. But combined and, like, overall, I think she just goes C. Probably like mid-C. Alright, and very last, we got Hellflare. I want to say, 95 points? Let's look. Where are you? 110, god damn it. Getting kind of expensive again. look at the profile, though. So, 14-inch move, T6, only 7 wounds, so not looking so hot. 4-up in-ball, so that does help. She does have those same lashes, and then for melee, she does get the bladed axle, so she's going to get 6 extra attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 6, only minus 1 AP, but 2 damage each, so that's pretty nice. Get the multi-damage out there. Again, helps chew up marines and the sort. Other than that, she gets the 9 dev wounds claws, and then the 4 secret tongue attacks, so not all that much. Neither of those get any AP, it looks like, which is kind of funky. I thought slashing claws would have 1 AP, but whatever. And then her ability, cutting down the foe, basically, after you... Alright, each time this unit is selected to fight, you can choose one enemy unit within engagement range, and then you roll a d6, you add 2 to the result if they're infantry. On a 2 to 3, they take d3 mortal wounds. On a 4 to 5, they take 3 mortal wounds. And on a 6 up, they take d3 plus 3. With the plus 2, on average, you're going to get the 3 mortal wounds. So, like, that's cute, but not 110 points cute. So... yeah, wish she had a better ability as well. I do not rate her too highly. I think she's too flimsy for the points cost. Yes, getting 2 damage is pretty, like, awesome, but I don't think it's awesome enough to, like, you know, handicap yourself with a weak unit that's just gonna die. Well, hot diggity dog. I think we finally did the demons. Demons, ultra easy to love for, like, obvious reasons. You got 4 different armies, essentially, all built into one. I think each one has valid units. I know a lot of people were talking trash about Nurgle at first. I honestly, like, truly, I don't think Nurgle's that bad. I think Nurgle is, like, some of their units are, like, kind of competitive. Where they really shine is when you combine them with others, of course. I think, like, they're good at, like, helping hold down your own objectives. Obviously, they're okay at, like, taking hits and acting as, like, an anvil or whatever. But they also have a few units that, like, throw out decent damage. Especially if you toss in, like, Rod of Gust or Great Unclean One. Tzeentch, as always, has pretty good, like, range, like, pretty decent range. Like, we're demons here, so it's not the best thing ever, but it helps. Flamers, especially, I think, are something you're going to see all the time. Be'lakor is just a boss. Slaanesh, hot diggity dog. I would say Slaanesh is probably the best of all of them, at least when you're counting, like, the greater demons. By the way, that seems to be the competitive, like, route right now. People are spamming the Monster Mash, just like it's always been. It's also, too, it's like, it's the most fun way to play demons. I hope GW doesn't get some weird idea that, like, oh, we need to nerf greater demons. Like, no, that's like half the reason half of us play demons. Also, too, it makes them kind of easy to get into. Like, yes, the models are expensive, but, like, they eat up a lot of points, so that helps you get up to the 2K fairly easily. They're fun to paint and super fun to model as well. And then Khorne just, like, they're just, like, decent all around. The Skull Cannon's a big help, and then the Blood Crushers, like, hot damn. Yeah, I think you'll be seeing a lot of those. I also do think you'll see a lot of Bloodthirsters, because they're just, pretty good all around. At 300 points, I think they're steal. That's it for the demons. That's all the Chaos reviews. I gotta decide what I'm gonna do next. I do think I kind of want to do something about, like, allies. I've had a decent amount of people ask, like, what the best allies would be for certain armies. So I kind of think going over each army and being like, if I was World Eaters, I'd bring a bunch of so-and-so and that sort of stuff. So I'm thinking about doing that. Also, nothing's stopping me from doing reviews on other indexes. Hopefully you guys get, like, entertainment, enjoyment out of this stuff. I figure a lot of you guys are probably painting or, I don't know, just chilling. I know whenever I was painting, I would almost always put on a video or podcast or whatever. So hopefully you guys are getting some good use out of this. As always, if you guys like the content, please consider liking and subscribing. It really does mean a lot to me when I see, like, a new sub or whatever. Sorry to be a nerd about it, but I do, like, appreciate it. It does, like, help my self-esteem and stuff. So, yeah, if you guys genuinely like the content, like, just consider it. I won't, like, bug you guys. I don't make no money off this or nothing. So just throwing that out there. Anyways, as always, if you guys got any suggestions, questions, comments, anything, feel free to throw them out there. I read and try to answer every single comment, so I'm always here to help. Anyways, hope this helped. Hope you guys have a great night, and good luck out there, guys.